improvement, but in terms of the Counter-Strike scene here, how would you describe it? Because like we don't really see too many players like top level when you say coming from this area.
Yeah, of course we had Scream, but that's been ages. He's switched over to Valorant. That's a whole different story. Unfortunate, of course. And Belgian CS is almost non-existing. We have some companies that are trying to get it to a next level. They're investing in them, but I see a lot of more room for improvement. And that's something I also kind of want to work on and get into the world because I see so much potential. I see how other countries are handling it, and there's so much more room for growth in Belgium.
Now, how long have you been playing Counter-Strike for? Because I know like you've been playing a fair while like me.
Yeah, it was since I was 14 years old, so for 16 years already. So do the math how old I am.
And in terms of Counter-Strike and what you love about it, right? Why Counter-Strike? Because I know you stream it, you also do a bit of trading and stuff with it, so it's a big part of your life at the same time.
I don't know, it's just I kind of hopped into it from internet cafes from back in the days, and the mechanics are pretty simple. It's easy to understand but hard to master, and I like the competitive play. And it's also a fun experience with the homies. Just you go on a server, you play a bit, you prac a bit, you sweat a bit, and you go back either tilted or super happy, and you repeat it every day. You can shake it off. It's a never-ending story.
It truly is, man, and it keeps going. It definitely keeps on going. Now, for anyone that might be visiting Antwerp for the first time, what would you recommend them to do?
Definitely go to Het Mas. It's a museum featuring Belgian art and history, but it's also free for people to go all the way on to the top level for the sky view and get an overview of Antwerp. It's a must-see, and at the bottom there are plenty of bars, restaurants, so it's a hotspot in Antwerp. Definitely worth checking out.
All right, I like it. Okay, well, I think you give me the lowdown on what's going on in Antwerp and also what you've been up to. I think we should go and check out the rest of the city and see what's going down. So we'll be back in a little bit. We're going to have a look around. I would say some fries, chocolate, waffles, and just enjoy life here. So first on the stop is this place behind me called Thritter Number 1, and Danky has recommended it as being quite an interesting place. And I also just learned that actually, you know, we call them French fries, they should be called Belgian fries, but the guy who made the name thought he was in France because I guess he was just lost at the time. So we're gonna go try some Belgian fries. I'm supposed to be able to enjoy these. It's time to get our food on. So the conclusion of our Belgium Antwerp fries experience, I was pretty impressed, Danky. I'll be honest, right? I enjoyed that a lot. I did not expect, honestly thought you were selling me a bit of a lie with the whole like, oh, the mayonnaise will taste different, the ketchup will taste different, but this was banging. But I had to leave something behind because we've got to go do some more food testing as well. You feeling pretty full up though?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any spot left for waffles, but I mean,
A little bit messy, very sugary. It's been one cheat day and a half, and Danky, considering you're from Belgium,
yeah.
How did you end up more messy than me? You not got the etiquette?
I don't know if I'll go for the waffles. I'm more like a shake kind of guy.
There you have it. You don't have to know what you're doing with it, but it's definitely tasty. I'm gonna rate that pretty highly. That place has been around since 1903, so go check it out. Grab yourself a waffle. Living by culture out here in Belgium.
A legend spot tantalizingly close and a chance to join Vitality in a flawless run. G2 and ENCE are going toe-to-toe. Joining myself, Ray Spears, up here on the analyst desk to see exactly how it goes down. I got Pimp, I got Maui joining me. Question to start off, how are you pick'ems faring? Still alive?
I'm doing good, Pimp. I'm doing good. My 0-3 came through. not believing in Renegades worked out for me.
Yep.
And then I think I've got maybe 2 more today, guaranteed.
Yeah, I had IHC going 0-3, so believing in Renegades got me cooked up right there. So not too well right now, Freya.
Well, I'm very excited to be delving into this game. Of course, one of these 2 teams will be qualifying in flawless fashion for the Legend stage here at the PGL Antwerp Major. I'm just so excited to see these 2 teams going head-to-head. On one side of the ring, we've got G2, the other, we've got ENCE. I want to start off by talking about ENCE a bit more in depth, because coming into this, I feel like it was a team that was on the rise, still had questions of, whether they were going to show their best form here in Antwerp. So just takeaways for you so far, Maui.
With ENCE, I really think that this roster is coming together in terms of knowing who the star is, and I think that Snappy is doing such an excellent job of making sure that people have the right level of autonomy in terms of what they can do every round, but he's giving it just enough structure so that they know what they should be doing every round.
I agree, he's giving them enough structure in order to facilitate all the individual skill there's within the team, but he's not overdoing it, right? He's not trying to take charge of the team and lead it in a direction where it's going to be more strict and it's going to be more tactical. That's never been the way Snappy has run his team, so I really feel like this mixture of players and having Snappy as the in-game leader is a perfect fit for ENCE.
And this is a really interesting comparison that you were bringing up, Pim, before coming live for this game. The fact that we've got Alexi B on one side of the server, Snappy again. I feel like, the age differentiation, that's a very interesting thing to be looking at there.
Yeah, for sure. Right? It's a very, very experienced guy who's been around for a long, long time. He used to play 1.6 as well, and has basically been playing Counter-Strike his entire life. And then it's Alexi B, who is also experienced but relatively new at the top of the scene, right? He took ENCE towards a major final. He's now going into G2, and I think that's the point I want to make right here. Snappy going up against Alexi B, right? You have one guy who's brought into a super team, one guy who's brought into the most expensive team probably in history of Counter-Strike, and then you have a guy in Snappy who's building up a team from rock bottom on a very low budget, Some of the players are coming in on a free transfer. Some of the players cost absolutely nothing. And right now, ENCE is the 3rd best team in the world, whereas G2 is number 6. How does that up when you look at the economy?
Yeah, that is really interesting, and I think another element that's quite poetic about this is the fact that Snappy is doing it on the same org that Alexi B came up with on ENCE. So I think that right now, these teams are in a position where the money is a huge talking point, because G2, in terms of the contract money, they should just be beating ENCE every day of the week, but ENCE's form lately has been exceptional.
And just looking at the trajectory to bring up that point, I want to use a word that Maniac used earlier on in the day. ENCE are winning with authority. We're looking at the scorelines in the 2 maps that we saw them play. 16-7 versus 9Z, 16-6 versus Outsiders. Quite different than when we're looking at the narrative for G2 thus far in Antwerp.
I would say, I would agree with that. I think that ENCE right now are maybe actually benefiting from some of the matchups that they're getting just a little bit, but I think it's impossible to ignore the fact that they have some bona fide star players. Spinks and Hades have been absolutely wrecking this challenger stage thus far, and right now, Nico, a guy that we want to look at, a guy we want to be succeeding, he's not even in the top 4 in terms of rating for players at this event yet.
Well, that's also crazy when you say it like that. Not even in the top 4, right?
Yeah.
You're right, but it is a player with a lot of firepower. I just wanted to bring this stat up for you as well, because both teams are coming in with, a decent amount of confidence. As you said, Freya, ENCE is a team right now on the rise to number 3 in the world, the highest ranking in a very long time, having won 5 games in a row. So has G2, though, but look at the difference right here. There's a difference in who you're winning against and how you're winning. G2 winning 16-10 against Sangle with a coach, winning 16-10 against BNE, and then a very close game against Astralis. Sure, that tells a story about G2. They win their games, but they always, as you said, Freya, make it close, whereas, as you said, for ENCE, they do it with authority.
I think that the quality wins there for ENCE are versus Outsiders, versus Heroic. They beat Astralis. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that you can look at ENCE's results lately and think that they are supposed to be in better form. They're supposed to be the better team today. They have the better HLTV world ranking, and I think that right now it's hard to argue with that, but today I'm actually going to be picking G2.
Ooh, okay, reasoning. Can you give us the reasoning behind that?
Okay, we want to break it down.
Yeah?
I just think that right now, the style that Snappy likes to call, it's very much set out of spawn. When they have a certain spawn setup, they know exactly what they're going to be going for. It's kind of what Hunden brought to Heroic back when that lineup was finally finding its form, but I also think that it's something that G2 can read. They can eat those sort of plays for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When they have that much experience, they have 3 guys in the server, Hunter, Nico, Alexi B, they can all read what the play is anytime it's coming their direction.
This is where I do want to play devil's advocate slightly, because what we've seen of G2 on their T-sides, it's not been cute so far this tournament.
No, it's been horrendous. It's been a poor T-side, over and over again. It seems to be the big struggling, but I will say I agree with you, Maui. I also have G2 in the sense that I think the style of play coming out of ENCE, it's a little bit too one-dimensional for my taste, and that's why I see the limit as well. they're number 3 in the world, right? On the ranking right now, there's a case to be made that they should be one of the favorites going all the way to the final and potentially even winning the major. But I just see the way they're playing right now as a play style that unless Spinks is just playing the best tournament that he's ever going to play since his career, then it's a little bit too one-dimensional, especially when you're going up against such strong individuals like Nico, like Hunter, like Monacy on the side of G2. That's also why I have G2, and then I will, bring another point to the table here as well. For me, G2 is one of those classic teams that if the opponents are a weaker team, G2 will play a weak game, whereas if they're playing a good team, they'll play a good game. They play up to the opposition's level, and they do that over and over again.
No, it's a really good point coming into it. I do want to just unpick the two sides that we've seen from G2 thus far in the tournament, because Devilwalt was making a really good point to kind of preface the first game that we saw from G2, or the second game rather, coming into yesterday. And they did really, really struggle in that second matchup. So what was kind of key for you in terms of what G2 was lacking, and you're hoping to see them potentially improving today?
So I think that when we watch G2 under the microscope, we notice so many different flaws for them. But when you actually look at their win rate on T-side in Katowice and at the RMR, they're one of the best in the world. But I will say that the noted problems I have had for G2 has been the fact that Alexi B doesn't always seem to use the entire clock. And when you have players like Nico and Hunter who can bleed the clock down, can make the high pressure play in the last 15 seconds of the round and make the correct play on top of that, you need to give those players the space that they deserve and they've earned with the pedigrees that they have.
I'm curious if that's an LXB problem or if that's a player problem within G2, because can you tell Nico to wait, 25 seconds or 30 seconds to actually do his play? It's more like, I feel G2 is a place of players where they play on the intuition as well. And if Nico feels he have an opening, he's going to go for it, right? If Monacy feels he has an opening, I'm sure he's being told, go for it. So at what point do G2 get into a scenario where they can run down the clock to 20 seconds or 25 without Nico dying, without Hunter dying, without Monacy dying, because they're trying to make the play? So I agree with your point right here. It would be nice to see them to add that as an extra layer to the way they're playing Counter-Strike, but do they have the players and the personalities to do that? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting question coming into things. I do want to pick up a point that you were saying about Monacy in particular there in terms of those reactions as well, because we had a really nice HLTV interview coming into this stage of the major where he was saying that's something he's been working on with the coach, with the other members of his squad, just having those immediate reactions coming into things. That's something, it takes time. He's a young player. We've got to give him some credit for that. Do you see that as being something that potentially kind of has to be molded by the team?
Yeah, I guess so, right? It's something that he has to learn, and it's something I hope that guys like Nico, guys like Hunter, the experienced guys are helping him with. It's just experience, How do you react in a scenario? When it's a 4v4 and your mate is dying on ramp on nuke, what is your rotation? Like, how do you react? What are you communicating to your teammates? It's all down to experience.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, Pimp, you and I watch Monacy come up in the scene in the Academy League, and the way that they got their victories was by playing a 4-map pool. So it's going to be understandable that he isn't as comfortable on a few of the maps that G2 inevitably will have to play, as in likely this BO3. But when we look at the maps right here, G2 going for Dust 2, that is a map that Monacy loves.
Yeah, I mean, Ancient coming out of ENCE. Any surprises so far, gentlemen?
No, Ancient is a very good map for ENCE. They're even willing to play it against Astralis. They've had some very solid wins on the map. So I think G2 is going to struggle a lot on Ancient. We saw that during the RMR as well. They got absolutely destroyed by Astralis. I think they had a CT start where they only got 3 rounds. So to think that they've fixed Ancient going up against a world-class team like ENCE on that map, that's going to be tough. I think if G2 want to win this game, it has to happen on a Mirage.
Yes, I think this is going to be building up to a 3-map series here. Just to talk a little bit more about Ancient, I really actually think that this is one where ENCE's calling style works very well, because I don't think teams are that good at slowing rounds down on Ancient just yet. And ENCE, they simplify things, they have game plans, they know what they're going to do on every stage of the round, and that's exceptional when you have players that are actually a little bit less experienced on the ENCE side.
I do want to bring up a point that you were mentioning earlier, Pimp, about Spinks being kind of a win condition, a consistency condition that we need to see on the side of ENCE. And just throwing some numbers that Maniac brought up in the pre-show earlier today. If we're ranking by the top 30 opposition at this tournament on LAN in 2022, he's got a 1.21 rating. But then when we're looking at the higher caliber opposition, it does dip down quite significantly. So is that something you're kind of looking for him to be improving coming into this tournament?
There's no doubt that the work field he's going up against right here is much tougher. Going for all the duels against a guy like Nico, against a guy like Hunter, or Monacy for that matter, is going to be tougher for Spinks. I think he's shown us that he can do it against some of the best players out there, but it's to be expected that he's going to perform a little less good. And that's my problem with ENCE. That's the one thing I can point towards, because I agree. I'm fully bought into the ENCE train. I think they're playing some fantastic Counter-Strike. The fact that they're ranked number 3 in the world right now is outstanding, especially when you look at the budget, especially when you look at the players. But are they too one-dimensional in the way they rely a lot on Spinks, they rely a lot on their individuals, and they rely a lot on the pace they're coming out with on their T side? I could worry a bit here.
I want to give viewers one thing to look out for why Spinks has usually been failing against top competition. It's that he just loves off angles. And the thing is that when you play against players like Nico and Hunter, they're some of the best jiggle peekers in the world. If you play an off angle and you're caught out in this bad position that doesn't actually have any advantage beyond the fact that it's surprising, Nico is just going to delete you from the server. And I think that Spinks is going to have a little bit of a rude awakening here when he tries to play these kind of cheeky spots in the mid-round.
Well, we're going to see exactly how he does wake up into this map. We are diving into Dust 2, and it's Spencer Blair on the mic to guide us through it.
Thank you very much, Freya. I don't know why I'm dying in our intro. That's
I mean, you're used to carrying me, Vince, so I guess it's kind of fitting.
Well, we're going to have to see a lot of players potentially carry each other at this best of 3 because it's going to be a close one. I think a lot of people have this down as maybe like a 55-45 situation. Some would argue a 50-50. On paper, at least, it seems like a super close game, Blair, but we have seen in situations like this in the past, sometimes the occasion gets to players.
Absolutely. I feel like ENCE have been on this upward trajectory, and I think Maui and Pim painted a very clear picture that ENCE are a team you shouldn't really be trifling with. They are looking very good. You have the likes of Spinks and whatnot, but you go up against this G2 side, and Maui made a very good point there. I mean, they really haven't been tested by the likes of a Nico and, of course, all the stars in that lineup, but we're not wasting any time here. We're going to be jumping straight into this matchup, and Vince, I don't know about you, but my body is ready.
I am so ready, Blair. One of the better matchups that you will see in probably the Challengers or Legends stage. 2 teams that will be expected to go very far in this major, and G2 kicking things off on the T side, already getting out aggressive towards middle.
Yeah, going to be going for a fast play towards Cat here, and it's going to be Madden making first contact and a flashbang. Those Spinks towards lower tunnels. It's a bit of an aggressive posturing coming out from ENCE, but not able to quite land any shots. Madden, fortunately, will be able to find his way onto the A-bomb set. However, that's a very uncomfortable position they are in, because Monacy can make life very uncomfortable here. He's going to find Hades, but Madden will reply back instantly.
He will. Snappy stuck in an awkward position as Alexi burns Madden to a crisp. 3-play-2 as ENCE taking control over the site. Post plant will be coming up, but Diha in an interesting position on elevator. How he wishes that he had Spinks up closer. Now that the smoke has cleared and dwindled, a snappy headshot straight to the dome of Alexi, courtesy of Spinks. And now Diha's coming back in for one of his own. Hunter all alone on the site with his Glock, trying to rat-tat-tat himself to the first round of this game, but Diha takes his head off and runs away with it. I thought Hunter had every chance, considering the Glock up close range typically prevails.
And that's the thing with this team, right? We talk about the stars on the side of G2. You're talking about Nico. You're talking about Hunter. You're talking about Monacy. But you cannot ignore the fact that players like Diha, like Spinks, like Hades have been fantastic. They've been lights out of late, having an incredible run ever since they brought in Madden onto this lineup. So yeah, that round really looked like G2 had ENCE's number. There was a good wrap coming in, Monacy towards long, making life very uncomfortable for the ENCE side, but somehow turning around the 2v3 with a bomb planted as well, Ben. So a great start here for the this mixed side. Both international squads, of course.
Yeah. Many nations being represented in just this matchup, let alone the rest of the major. And Jax, the French contingent, waiting outside of long doors, seeing if perhaps Snappy gets a bit overzealous, seeing if the Dane tries to play something with this SMG. Nothing so far forthcoming. And once again, as is going to be often the case, it is Dust 2, the tried and tested, the true catwalk aggression.
Yeah, the force buy with Monacy, of course, with the trademark scoped rifle in his hands. And again, the Deagles, man, like, if you just go back to yesterday, Nico and a Deagle, we know what that combination can do, and we saw him really pop off yesterday on Dust 2 as well. So ENCE will be very, very aware of this as Nico will be leading the chance. He will be spotted, however, getting dinged down to 91 points of health Fortunately for him, there is no nade follow-up, so he will stay alive for the time being. And just waiting for a move to be made here by ENCE, and ENCE aren't giving anything. And that being said, Madden slowly inching towards mid. He's going to find Jax looking for the second kill, which he will indeed. But m0NESY will finally trade him as NiKo with the deagle finds Hades, and all of a sudden, it's a 3v3, and they do have the A bomb site.
They do a fast flank coming round, though, from Snappy from long doors, but they will have a good idea as to this being a possibility. Tossing the bomb across will afford now m0NESY to peer down on the catwalk side. Spray is good. Snappy's been dealt with accordingly, and that makes this potential retake that much more difficult. A lot of players would decide to dip out at this stage and hold on to the weapons that they possess, and that's why it's such a difficult site to retake in a 2-on-3. And you have to take on board as well, with this being just the second round potential loss coming in, ENCE's economy is absolutely devastated as a result of this loss.
Oh yeah, they just went in for the full buy. They had all the rifles as well to work with, but then m0NESY, I mean, fantastic work from Madden towards mid, finding this 2 kills through double doors, but m0NESY gets the kill there, right? That's a crucial frag. But more importantly, NiKo on 9 HP decapitates Hades, who was waiting, playing towards Car, and that completely opens up the A bomb site. And unfortunately, we had, I do believe, a Snappy who was playing towards long, going for the long flank. But if he maybe just stuck around towards the long position, maybe this retake would have been a little bit more viable. They would have felt a little bit more uncomfortable, getting kind of pincer on the A bomb site on the post plan for G2. But they will stay alive. Able to salvage quite a few number of guns as well for the side of G2. And for ENCE, yeah, they're going to be going for the force buy of their own. The M4, A1 safe in the hands of Diha. And it is going to be Madden who will be the first to fall. m0NESY, he's got his signature gun out very, very early here in the game.
You consider this guy's age, the amount of experience he's had. This could be such a phenomenal coming-of-age story for m0NESY in terms of being a player here at G2. A lot of people had their doubts. They had their question marks going back when he was picked up. And I think he's proved a lot of the naysayers wrong. Great opener. Jax has taken a little bit of chip damage, but so is Snappy. And keep in mind, the buy is very poor indeed. Not far off connecting some more shots here, though.
Yeah, actually tagging NiKo down through the door. 28 points of health. Snappy. The scout still tapping away. They do know the M4A1 in the hands of Diha was towards short. He did rattle off a couple of bullets there, but it's still going to be making their way up towards A. All 5 members grouped up together. That being said, NiKo has been tagged. Jax down to 59 points of health as well. So if there was a little bit of utility here, and Diha does have that, Incendiary could slow things down. And considering the amount of presence they have towards long doors, they have full control. So the only avenue for G2 is towards short right now.
It is Diha's been mollied off twice. Has to relocate. Gaps in the smoke afford him safe passage, however. But considering he's the only player with an M4, he has got to make this sing. He's got to orchestrate a symphony of destruction here onto the T's as they push onto the site. But so far, he's not been called upon. They're playing this one a little bit slower. Keep in mind Jax's position as well. He could have the long flank around the back of the CTs, even if they're successful in getting a couple of early entries back onto A. That may not be good enough. He's the ace up the sleeve. Diha has been so patient, so willing to just turn himself away from this aggression, but it's not worked out for him, and Snappy is the round in the end for G2.
I like the play from Diha, though. He didn't really overface. He knew where they knew where his position was. They're just waiting for his teammates to come on in. But in the end of the day, everyone just hitting the shots, right? We saw a little bit of Bogdan's Law come into place as well. m0NESY tossing the AWP in the hands in the direction of NiKo. Who should? There we go. He's dropped it back to the hands of m0NESY. I don't feel comfortable when I see NiKo off, Vince. It's just well. It's all right. It's still early days. It's okay. It's all forgiven. A full eco, however, going to be coming out here from the side of ENCE. So, yeah, pretty interesting start here to the game. ENCE winning what looked like a very rough pistol round, the 2v3, able to win the retake, but then G2, they answer back almost immediately. And the previous round as well, despite the danger of that A1 save in the hands of Diha, they were able to just lose one player there. So, the money's starting to look pretty solid as well, considering still very early days. And right now for ENCE with the pistol, just trying to maybe find a couple of kills here, which doesn't look like it's going to take place. Jackson Hunter just mopping up the bodies, and Nate is going to deal quite a bit of damage as well. But I'm more curious about how the next couple of rounds are going to be playing out. The buy should be coming in, obviously, for ENCE. And you're taking a look at the money here. I don't see an AWP being purchased for Hades, right? It's going to be A1s coming out should be the majority of the players. Utility will also be pretty decent, I guess. Hades we can see a multitude of smokes being purchased, maybe a couple of Molotovs, but obviously some of them will have to SG going for the head armor. And there you go. A1s on each and every one of the members here. And this is going to be the first real proper test for ENCE right now. Now they have all the guns, all the weaponry they need. They have the utility as well. And for the side of G2, well, this is the sort of start they were looking for.
Oh, precisely. I mean, as you said, even the pistol wasn't exactly easy and a foregone conclusion on the side of ENCE. And now it's going to be aggression. That grenade could do a lot of damage, though, and it does. They walk over that barrage of shrapnel. Diha, though, through the smoke, will perforate it and deal with Hunter. 1-for-1 trade, but ENCE do take some long control.
And this push from Madden is so critical. The moment they notice no one towards tunnels, they can immediately allocate the majority of the resources towards this A bomb site because they know that G2 will be slowly but surely inching their way in towards A. And G2 they're not making secret of things. They are heading towards A bomb site. And right now, ENCE have so much information to work with. They know short is clear. They know there's no one towards B. So this defense could actually completely ruin G2's day.
They do have the wall of smokes, but that second smoke has not plumed in position just yet. Another one needs to be tossed down. There we go. Now Hades has been locked out. I say that, but he sledgehammers open the door with the A1S, and Jack stood behind it, gets crunched down. Ooh. Nice counteractive kill from Nico. It's had a bit of a slow start, but you always know he's never out of the game. Madden needs to use that smoke as his sanctuary, trying to dart around the shadows and make the most of Gandalf as it stands. Now a gap in the smoke has appeared, and Hades is trying his best to make as much use of that as possible. Good, well-placed flash, but now Madden shows his hand. This has been an excellent hold from the CTs, all things considered. m0NESY needs to go above and beyond, and instead, he gets submerged by Spinks, and ENCE have finally bounced back.
That's a huge round coming in from Madden. They're even able to retrieve the AWP from m0NESY's corpse, which will be in the pretty capable hands of Hades. Snappy, though, a bit of a quiet start for the man. I love the flashback from m0NESY, just such a perfect flashback, catching them off guard, but Madden staying alive towards Gandalf, and m0NESY there. He knew he was going to be peaking, but the timing not quite panning out for him. But for G2, they're still going to be very comfortable, Vince. They have managed to accrue quite a lot of cash, winning some of those anti-eco rounds very convincingly. Just, I think, dropping one player in 2 rounds. So AKs abound for each and every one of the members. m0NESY as well with the AWP. If you see the m0NESY we saw yesterday, it's not going to be easy for ENCE.
No, absolutely not. And he's already 7-2. Had 7 kills after 3 rounds, I believe. Was in hot form. Meanwhile, Snappy 0-5. Not necessarily one of the heavy hitters though on ENCE. Shouldn't be doing most of that heavy lifting. Hades at the classic close angle with the AWP. Spots the trajectory of the Molotov. Knows at least one player's round here, but that Molotov is burning him away. Oh, if he'd lasted 1 more second, that could have been a kill.
G2 using all the utility to ensure they don't have to give a free kill to ENCE just to get some information. The first time thus far in this first half, in this half, is it slowly inched away towards mid, and now Madden aware. You heard the flashbang. It's a bit of a ruse towards A though, and Madden, the flashbang is so good though, and he will spot a player out, but Nico dropping in from short, able to find Madden, and that's the... Look at the way the bomb sets are just split in half right now. G2 have complete control, and it's going to come down to Hades to hit a good shot, but he will find nothing.
Nico going from strength to strength, a great divide and conquer approach now, and Nico has picked up his 3rd. He's on for the ace. If Diha and Spinks want to tread over onto the A side of the map, but it is fraught with terrors. And instead they decide that saving is the best course of action, and looking at their collective economy, that definitely seems to be the correct decision. Now if they'll be allowed that luxury is yet to be seen, because Jax is on the prowl. Will be bested by Spinks, could be an AK-47 if he wants to traverse across towards the T-spawn. Looks like ENCE may be able to hold on to these 2 weapons, but even if they do, Blair, this has been such a good start now for G2.
Absolutely. It looks like whatever they're planning to execute and all these rounds are winning, it's just working to perfection, right? The way they were able to kind of lure Madden in towards CD spawn, trying to go for that little bit of a mid to B ruse, and Nico just dropping in. And even though Madden was able to stay alive for a couple of seconds, helped out by a flashbang from his teammates towards the B bomb site, the moment they have full control towards mid and CD spawn, that's a defense being split. And from then G2, they had wherever they wanted to go. But they go for the A bomb site. Hades missing a crucial shot. Maybe if he found the first, able to fall back to a more passive angle towards long, where Snappy was alive, maybe ENCE would have been able to turn that one around. But G2 right now are looking really, really hot. And for the side of ENCE, the 2 saved rifles, a few pistols, and that's all they have to work with.
My concern here for ENCE additionally is they want to get Hades in the game as fast as possible. He's had a slow start, but their economy also hasn't really allowed him to have his hands in that AWP. Meanwhile, Madden watching on the cross, a lot of damage through the smoke. Jack's down at 16. may think better of that, but 4 players clumped up and a molly down on Car suggests they're going to hang around a bit longer.
I like this. Like, when you have just 2 rifles to work with, might as well go for a little bit more of a gamble stack. You know there's a presence coming in from a G2 towards long, and they've done this a couple of times as well, have G2 just all 5 members grouping up towards long, which could be... which makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but ENCE, I wouldn't say they've been cowed, but I've seen ENCE play in Dust 2 in the past, and they've usually have this kind of almost like a no-respect, hyper-aggressive CD side where they keep poking and prodding and making life feel uncomfortable. But right now, they're giving quite a bit of respect towards G2. Spinks rattling off a number of bullets. He tickles down m0NESY to 19, but m0NESY will hit the shot, just spotting Spinks right above the smoke.
Issue here, though, on ENCE is they only have a flash left, and they've just tossed it out on long. There's no follow-up peek, no smokes, no incendiaries, 2 players on pistols. So yes, you've got a couple players low here, but what can you do about it? Well, Diha says, I've got an A1S, and I'm going to spray down on 2 players. And it's the Cousins that go across him as he looks to try and finish off the rest. Has a chance, nails it on a 3rd, looking for a 4th as well, but m0NESY has dealt the fatal blow, and with 25 seconds to play with now, G2 are reeling. Both players super low, m0NESY with a slight gap on the smoke has made it work, and now Madden on the flank could have them both dead to rights. There's one, but misses his 2nd shot. 10 seconds to play with. Madden just needs to play possum, and Jack's rushing towards the site, needs to get this plant down right now. Gonna be able to have a couple moments to just retrieve a little position. Bit of reprieve now for him, and Jack peeks up. The perfect time. Madden switches his weapon, and it's put in the dirt.
Oh, those are some little bit of unconfirmed damage coming out there, Vince. If he knew how low Jax was, he would have gone for the duel. He would have gone for the fight. But Jax coming up absolutely clutch. That looked like a disaster of a round for G2, right? They were getting kind of they were getting kind of trapped towards long. Diha doing whatever he could with that M4A1. Snappy unfortunately getting caught by m0NESY through that gap, but in the end, Jax, he is solid. He is good enough to clutch it out in the end. And G2, they survive a bit of a scare there. For ENCE, though, that was kind of the eco, you know, around maybe a couple of upgraded pistols around they saved A1, and now the buy is going to be coming in once more. For G2, though, there's going to be a bit of a kick in their economy, but they're still looking very, very solid here. They've laid a pretty solid foundation as to, for how many ever rounds they want to get here on this T side. But right now, if I'm G2, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. Sure, there have been a couple of scares here and there, but the individuals, their game plan is kind of working out perfectly. Speaking of working out perfectly, m0NESY is being gifted a freebie by Diha.
Interesting that Diha has the AWP over Hades instead. I assume that was based off Spawn to peek up mid as fast as possible.
I would assume so, but Hades is all the way towards long, so kind of strange, because Hades, he was playing towards long. I'd assume he had a long spawn, in which case usually you might just give it to the AWP player, so bit of a curious decision being made there. Hopefully maybe we can go back to the VOD or the demo, figure out what really transpired in that round. Right now, though, G2 getting an opening pick. And m0NESY already 11-3. Oh, he's looking deadly.
This is certainly a player that is proving a lot of people wrong, and maybe reaffirming some people's belief in him as well. They doubted. They said, oh, he's too young at a major to perform. Well, he has something to say about that one.
I mean, there were a lot of people saying that about when they played IM Katowice, and then he just 1v3 the simple electronic and bit. I'm just saying, the guy was born for this game. Once more, G2, this time around, going to be creeping and crawling their way up towards short. The difference this time being they have Jax all the way towards top mid to ensure they don't get flanked from behind. And here comes the play, and Hunter will hunt Madden in that A bomb set, taps him away. It's a 5v3, and if I'm ENCE, I'm already considering going for the save. The money, well, they have no money. Just going to save these weapons and maybe try and buy around it. Maybe, force like a FAMAS, a scout perhaps, but things aren't really looking good for ENCE right now.
No, they're not. And they did get the chance at an AWP. I think another reason you're obviously going to save, and it's a very unwinnable situation, is to give Hades another chance. However, I'm curious if we're going to have Diha maybe occupying himself with that AWP going forward. Something to maybe keep an eye out for, if it's dependent on spawns, as we're probably expecting it was, or if it's going to be more of a permanent fixture. That being said, though, ENCE aren't really too bothered about chasing down these players. they seem relatively content to allow the remainder of ENCE to stay alive over on the B side of the map. And they will hold on to the AWP and the 2 M4s with a healthy dosage of Kevlar and a smoke on top of it. So let's have a look. With those 3 save weapons, they could try and rummage together a 4-spy here. They'll be coming back into the 9th round, though. 6-2 behind. And obviously, we did hear the desk discuss this before, that this feels like if G2 want to get this done in 2-0, they may need to pick up Dust too, because Ancient's not exactly one of their greatest maps.
Yeah, I think the desk painted a perfect picture there. And again, this time it's a different name, but once again, they keep picking m0NESY, man, every single time. Like, he's too fast. He is just too fast, and he is going to come out of the duel every single time. He's 4-0 right now for opening duels, and G2 as a whole are 7-2 in opening duels. They're showing why they picked this map. And just getting back to what we were touching upon when the desk set is going to be a three-mapper affair. Ancient, I feel, I don't want to say it, but it feels like a foregone conclusion because ENCE are very, very, very comfortable on that map. G2 don't look that great on it. And m0NESY missing a shot there. It's all right, though. And yeah, for G2 to take this series, in all honesty, even though Maui said he expects G2 to take this, it's going to be on Dust2 and Mirage that they are going to be looking to find their wins, right? Because Ancient, it's going to be extremely hard against Snappy and his calling style, especially with how comfortable they are on this map. For the very first time, though, Vince, it's going to be a hit coming into its speed this time around.
It is, and Madden, I think, has a good idea as to what's coming up. He's just pushing outside of long right now, seeing nothing in mid. 1-for-1 trade, ball gets spilled down. Here comes Diha, spraying in for 1 and a second as well. And he's been the shining light right now for ENCE. He's got himself 8 kills. Hunter and Nico remain. Tread lightly, though.
Look at the tunnel.
Yeah, the tunnel is definitely a problem, but Nico no longer will be. Hunter's about to get flanked, and he gets swept away from Madden, whose long flank round long has played out dividends. 3-6 will be the score. ENCE finally get themselves back on the board, but that has to be the first step of many if they want to get straight back into this game.
That could have easily still gone the way of G2, right? Like, again, props to Diha for just somehow turning it around. He goes for the spray through the smoke. They kind of got stuck at the entrance of tunnels. Great work from him. Spinks, he finds one, he gets traded immediately. And Madden, again, like you pointed out, he gets the flank in from tunnels. Nico gets caught with that lurk. So good read overall coming out from ENCE, but they need more of that. They need more of that, and now they do have a double upset coming out. Spinks with the AWP. We've seen that a few times in the past. And Hades and Spinks, the 1-2 wombo combo with the Zoom bangers. Madden just jumping across. This is huge. Spinks, though. Are they going to be expecting this as a question? Spinks hears a drop down. He knows there's a player nearby. It's going to be Nico. And Spinks, crosshair train. He's looking for him. And he's going to miss the shot. And Nico, always ready, always deadly, finds yet another opening pick for the side of G2.
The worrying signs on the side of ENCE here, though, is even if they are soloed on Ancient, there are just parts of this puzzle that have not fired off yet. They are not clicking the way you'd expect. They're comfortable on this map. They shouldn't be getting blown out this hard on the CT side. We're seeing Spinks not quite have the impact you expect. Diha has just been eradicated from Jax, who goes in and just banishes both. The A site is open for business. And it's going to be Jax that is wielding his team across for another round, potentially.
Not a single point of damage being taken by Jax. It's unreal how everyone on this G2 side seems to be so switched on right now. Hunter has been looking very, very solid. m0NESY, I mean, he's 12-4. That itself is good enough. We've seen Nico just tapping away fools, and just everyone's having a very comfortable time here. And I said, ENCE, we're going to be needing more from you guys, but G2, they immediately switch things up. And look, there's not much you can do when Jax is just going to be popping hits like that. m0NESY looking for the final, gets tagged a bit by, but immediately plucks Madden's head clean off his shoulders. Clean round coming out from G2. You can see smiles all around, fist bumps as well. They're looking pretty mighty comfortable. And again, this is the first time that these two particular lineups have ever faced, whether online or LAN doesn't really matter. Because the last iteration of G2, when we had Amanek playing for that team, we didn't have m0NESY yet. We didn't. They also still had Nexa. They were playing against, I do believe it was when Madden hadn't joined in. They still had Dodo, and it was like what, like October last year. I think it was IM Fall, or IM Winter, the last time these two teams faced. So they haven't really faced each other. And Maui and Pim, I think they painted a very good picture that when it comes to a team like G2, like how, the amount of experience of players like Nico and whatnot, it's not going to be as easy. Like the individual perhaps Spinks, like Maui, I think Maui made a very good point when he said like how Spinks, he likes holding these off angles and whatnot, getting multi spray downs. Against players like Nico and Hunter with all his little jiggle peaks and just being so very good with their aim, it's not going to work out every single time.
Yeah, this is definitely a significant step up, maybe, from the kind of impact that Spinks was having in previous rounds. Nico, in the meanwhile, goes in 2 brisk headshots. The landlord of Catwalk, and he has evicted the CTs, but Snappy, he's a squatter. Says, nah, you can't get rid of me that easily. And he's actually taken the AK as well, and potentially given ENCE a chance.
I love the Molotov, the immediate reply coming in from G2, right? All right, fine, you have the AK-47. You're not going to be walking into the flames, although the smokes will be deployed, allowing them to do something a little crazy. But Spinks able to find one, finds a second kill as well, getting boosted up. That is massive. And Spinks drops on down. And suddenly, from a 5v3, it's down to 2 versus 3. Bomb will be planted. Muncie will give away his position, and Spinks will find the kill. And now it's all down to Alexi B.
Alexi B, 2 separate angles to watch out for, and he gets pinched. It's Snappy that takes him off, and we'll deal with him accordingly. And Nico, you just saw a little wry look on his face, a slight shake of the head. He got 2 clean entries, and they still lose the round.
They played that almost to perfection, did G2. They got a little over-eager. They're like, all right, they're behind the smoke right now. We're just going to be going for the, for the nades and the spams and whatnot. But credit where it's due. That was very quick on-the-fly thinking. They go for the immediate boost. Great spray transfer as well from Spinks. And he even drops down amongst all the commotion. Able to trade immediately as well. A little bit of over-eagerness from G2 there. Pushing a little bit ahead and getting punished. As ENCE, they win a round. In all honesty, they had no business winning considering the investment they had and considering Nico just popped 2 heads at the very beginning of the round. But still, money is still not in a great place here for the side of ENCE. The double upset will once more come out to play. And for G2, of course, they have all the money in the world to work with. The op still in the hands of Monesi. And Spinks, he's getting pretty aggressive here with the AWP, but the flashbang will force him to stay his hand for the time being.
I've got to point out as well, I don't like to say this, but it's a similar result to what happened last major. Great shot from Hades, though. I was just about to say, Hades is 1 and 9. It's had very little impact. Hasn't had really any opening picks, and he goes and gets one, and now Madden has put the bomb down in long. That is surely a clean, comfortable round for ENCE. Keep in mind their economy. They can't really afford to lose many players from this point. It's not just about winning at this stage, it's about winning cleanly.
Okay.
Okay, well that's going to make it a little bit scrappier, especially as Nico removes the head of Snappy. Now they can go pick up that bomb. It's in an awkward position though. Hades with the AWP misses the shot. And somehow Hunter's picked up the bomb and has the audacity to potentially re-peek this. Hades is scared that Nico may be pushing him from long. Nico's still up on the site itself. What a strange round this has been. And Nico removes the head of Diha. I said surely it has to be around for ENCE, and cleanly so. A 2v5 has gone into a 2-on-2.
Hades getting hunted down. That's a crucial kill for him to find, and now it's all on Nico. 20 seconds to work with. He needs to make a little bit of haste as Hades is going to miss his question. Nico comes jumping around. He should be able to find him, and he will indeed. No, he knows where the second player is as well. There's 8 seconds, and Spinks is just going to run for it. Nico has to hunt him down, and it is going to be Spinks to save ENCE there. But for a moment, Vince, for a moment... Oh my word, you give an inch, they will take everything away from you. This man is scary.
Man, Blair, that is a win that feels like a loss if you're ENCE.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, you get across the finish line, okay, that was what, a 2v5? And you just lost 4 players? Your money is still in the bin? You are still scraping together whatever you can possibly get your hands on. This should have been your golden ticket cashed in to get straight back on the highway towards catching up G2 comfortably. And as it stands now, they still got their hands out begging just for an extra weapon here or there, or an extra bit of utility. And this is where it came from. Hunter and Nico, down but never truly out. Nico was so close to clutching this as well. Was forced into an awkward angle. Don't take anything away from Spinks. It's an excellent shot. If he misses that, he is dead. But look at ENCE. They've got M4s, but they've got no money in their back pocket afterwards. And Muncie again with an entry down middle wins another opening duel.
Okay, all right, hold up. What was that? That's just such a filthy downward flick from Monacy, and oh man, the amount of individual prowess in the server right now, it just boggles my mind. That was so quick, Vince. And yeah, just getting back to what you said right there, like, that was around for ENCE to grind this one back, right? Make it a more comfortable attempt for them to make it maybe an 8-7 or a 7-8 half, but if G2 were able to somehow take this round away, which, you know, they've already got the opening pick already, this could easily be like maybe a 10-5 in favor of Nico and his men, and that is not a happy proposition for the side of ENCE.
Going to run to the CT side, that is going to be a very difficult second half on the side of ENCE, so they are battling tooth and nail to keep in this. Again, they have got themselves a decent buy in this round, but it's really about the future. It's about the bigger picture. If G2 can get themselves this advantage moving into an 8th round. Time, though, starting to get a little bit scarce. The Sands of Time may end up being a 5th adversary for G2 after all, so they're pressing the button. They're going in full throttle. 30 seconds to play with. Nico drops down, but Diha is there to deal with it. Hades goes in through the smoke as well. Jax is the only T that's been able to come out on top in this exchange, and time is still ticking away. Diha, alive, will not be able to deny this bomb plant, but is keeping himself up close so that the rest of his team can get up close in themselves. But Hunter removes him, deals with him so quickly, so briskly, that it puts his teammates in such a horrible spot. Snappy and Spinks both trying to sneak their way up towards the side. Just less than half the fuse left on the timer. Both remainder of the Ts are over on Catwalk. Hunter on low HP, 7 to be precise, has dished out the fatal blow to Spinks, and that could be the round. There's no mollies, HEs, or flashes to deal with Snappy, but they would have just heard him drop down, and thus G2 know they've got themselves an 8th round.
Might even be able to hunt him down here. Is he going to cross, though? Yup. Will cross, unfortunately for him. Hunter doesn't scope in, and they will at least save the AWP, but G2 just brute forcing their way onto that side. 3v3. Honestly, I felt like Diha did whatever he could, but this shot... Bro!
And he's consistently been doing that, Blair. That's not just a fluke. That's what, his 5th time, maybe down mid, maybe 6th time he's been successful?
They're just gifting him these openings. They're just daring him. Like, they're like, surely he doesn't hit another nasty shot in mid again. Don't do it. Don't you dare do it! He does it again and again and again, Monacy! He doesn't even see him, Vince!
This isn't okay!
This is just... Oh my lord. 16 and 7. I think it's like 7 and 0 in opening duels already. And that too, I think every opening duel is one has been down mid. It's been ludicrous. Right now, there's only one saved AWP for the side of ENCE. And just pistols for the rest of them. USPs, in fact. So Snappy has to do pretty much everything by his lonesome. They know where the AWP is. And G2, they're going to slow things down. There's no need to really just run into a stack. They're going to try and be a little bit more methodical how they're going to clear things out. But Snappy, he's got a lot to do. And look, I mean, he has those games. He is capable. But this is going to require a gargantuan effort from the IGL.
Feels more of a scouting tool right now. Had a chance, a pixel, but it dashes past. And maybe that brief moment, that ghost in the night, is going to come back to haunt him now. Hades has lost his life on the side. Snappy simply had to land that shot. It was a difficult one.
He saves now.
Yes, exactly. This has to be a save. They can buy around this. It does put G2 on the 9-5 scoreline. And as you highlighted just before, Blair, that would look pretty good for a 10-5 half. ENCE, keep in mind, they won the pistol. And even with that huge advantage, they still find themselves in a vast deficit as we go through to the last round of the half. Doesn't seem like G2 are too interested in charging down. Not like their money is exactly in great shape either. AK has also been picked up additionally on the side of Spinks. It's a nice little addition, but the bomb is about to explode. 9-5 the score here, Blair. This is starting to get a little bit worrisome for ENCE.
Yeah, this is a far cry from the G2's T side we saw yesterday. I do believe it was against Spirit, where they went off on an 11-4 CD side, and then their T side was almost, I wouldn't say non-existent, but they were really, really struggling against Spirit there. But this has been them looking much cleaner, much better, much more convincing. The individuals looking fantastic as well. Oh, well, why have you done him like this?
Opening duel 6. To be fair, Snappy, he has come back a little bit. He was 0-7, I think, or 0-8 at one stage. Monacy, wait, he is human after all?
I mean,
The
they're finally using a little bit of utility to cross on over. I think they lobbed in a nade there to kind of throw up debris so he can't see anything. So finally, it looks like ENCE are like, you know what? Let's not test him again. Let's not test Monacy again. As G2, a lot of presence and pressure being exerted towards the B tunnels by Hunter, and has got his cousin towards lower tunnels in the form of Nico to make sure no one is going to be pushing in from mid. And ENCE are going to be slowly peeling back to a much more default position here. Jax is teasing Hades, and Hades will find him. So finally an opening duel going the way here for ENCE, and that's going to immediately force G2 to go for a player. Still a lot of time to work with though. A flash towards short, hoping that draws out a rotation. Right now, Monacy just going to be holding towards mid, looking to see if anyone's going to be daring to peek him. We've seen ENCE actually go for a couple of dry peeks towards mid. We saw Hades as well, where he did manage to land a kill. But right now, with a man advantage, there's no need to go for anything wild. Right now, it's all about just believing in your defaults, holding on to these bomb sites, well-timed smoke being lobbed in as well by Madden. It's all the roots. It's going to be mid to be play again with Nico dropping out towards CD spawn.
This is one of the first times we've seen this tactic. It's very A-heavy, small gap in the smoke. Nico is trying to keep them interested. They have decided to divert. This is a double switch and bait, and Nico removes the head of Hades, goes back in, heavy damage to Madden, but he stands on 13 HP, lucky for some. Madden may burn to a crisp, has to come out into the open, and in doing so, Hunter is there to collect. The guillotine comes down, but Diha is keeping this dream alive. 10 seconds to play with. Bomb does get planted, and Hunter in the meanwhile makes short work of Diha. 2-on-2. They know one of these players is on catwalk. Well played the flashbang, but this double tag team has now been put down to a solo effort. It is Monacy. First frag goes the way of the young man, and now he's up against Spinks. No idea as to where his position currently lies. 17 frags already picked up for Monacy, and Spinks is taking his sweet time. He has to pick up the pace. Time is running scarce now. Monacy up close, going to be combat AWPing, looking for that no-scope, has now spotted Spinks, is waiting for Spinks, but Spinks removes his head, and just in the nick of time, he should have this defusal. ENCE get their 6th, but it was so close.
Oh my lord, they needed it. They needed that round. But Monacy, man, when that kid is alive, you kind of almost envision it. You can almost envision him clutching that 1v2, but Spinks, he gives ENCE a much needed round number 6 that came down to the wire. I liked a little bit of an adjustment from G2 there. They went for they thought it was going to be meant to be fake, and then Nico, he just gets an opening pick. They immediately run towards short. It's a little bit of a surprise there with the Jax just kind of peeking out wide. Hades getting that kill. Snappy doing everything he could there. Huge round, and Spinks able to clutch it out in the end. Crucial round, but still, G2 looking much more comfortable here on their map pick. And heading to the second pistol round, of course, we have Alexi B. Going to be taking one for his team. A couple of flashbangs. A kit for Jax. It's going to be a nade, a smoke, and another flashbang. So 3 flashes, a smoke, and a nade for the defenders. And for ENCE, Molly for short to enable him to get some control. And Monacy burning in the flames. Still going to be peeking down mid, but doesn't find anything. But it's still going to stick around. And they're looking for these fights. And what a tap by Monacy. And it's going to drop on down the madman, the lunatic, looking for more. A snore by Monacy. Finally, he will be dropped. But that is bloody murder at mid.
Where did that come from? That's the question that's going to be bouncing around the heads of ENCE right now. Monacy out of nowhere, just collapsing. And suddenly, Diha and Snappy, last 2 players left with over a minute to play with, and they're being flanked. And it is the Megalodon of Nico. They thought he was extinct, but he's about to chomp down if they don't pick up the pace. And there's the first one, snaps onto the head. And that's going to be this round very much over, unless Diha pulls a miracle out of his back pocket. He's surrounded. They know exactly where he is. They saw the bomb spill down before. Ooh. Nice shot onto Hunter, though. There's still time. There is still a way back into this round. It is going to have to be paid with in the blood of G2 players, and they are all healthy, mind you, so it's going to have to be headshots dished out aplenty. The positions are good. Nico at this range is going to decapitate him, so the dream is dead, but G2 have picked up their 10th round and get the second pistol.
We're witnessing a tapestry of just violence from Monacy. It's no other way to describe it. He has been... I mean, what is this? The first one, great stuff. Just drops down amidst the tees, flicks around, finds Spinks. I even thought he was going to find Diha over there, and Monacy, he's just come alive. 20 and 9. in 16 rounds as a forced buy will come in here. And Monacy, okay, he's looking to challenge down mid, but he will be tagged on to 33 points of health. It's going to be falling back to a more safer, more passive angle. For G2, if you look at the buy, we have the two A1s in the hands of the cousins. That's Nico and Hunter, quite a bit of utility as well, the MP9s. As Alexi B tucked in on the left-hand side of double doors. And Nico buys Lonesome. Very, very capable indeed, alongside the young steward in the form of Monacy. And just waiting. They're going to be going for the contact play. This could catch Nico off guard.
It could, especially as Monacy is now starting to move into position. The
Oh, the
flashbang
flash.
up and over. The peak's going to be behind and smoke down. And Nico chomps again. 2 kills. Exquisite flashbang. The teamwork on point. And ENCE have been rumbled. Stuck on catwalk again. There won't be any flanking contingent just in yet on the side of G2, but let's be honest, they don't really need it considering they're up against Eagles and Nico is still very much alive on the catwalk side. Maybe on 43 HP, but that smoke is doing a lot of harm to the T's vision, and thus they must pull back. However, Hunter is here. He's on the prowl now, picking up the mantle from the cousin and seeing if he can maybe capitalize and pad those stats. There's one. Nico with the assist. Molly down, stops any re-engage, forces ENCE out into the open, and at some point they're going to have to realize they have to die. They can't afford to let this one take too long, thus they take the initiative, but it's into G2's hands, and they close this out in style.
It's just sheer confidence from Nico there. Just sheer confidence. 43 points of health in front of the smoke, just tapping away with an A1. And even when he knows he's going to be running out of bullets. And that's the one danger for using the M4A1 is the fact that you only have the 25 bullets. So, firstly, this flash was just pristine. And they're just feeling confident. That's a dangerous G2. Just the individual prowess coming to play over here as, okay, Monacy getting tagged back, but he in turn will tag Diha. This, of course, is pretty much just a very light buy. A couple of upgraded, you can see a couple of Deagles being upgraded. Snappy going for the scout buy, which is a bit surprising as Hunter trying to farm a little bit of cash, but the Deagles are starting to sing. Madden finding Jax, that is huge. That is massive. They have control of the B bomb side. He spots the CD2 with spawn as well. Now, the only problem here is they don't have a smoke to cross the bomb onto the bomb side, and they already have Alexi B pushed up close, looking to prevent that from taking place, and he will drop Spinks.
Not sure about that peek from Alexi, but he gets away with it. The bomb's now been spilled on the other side of the doors. They have to go back over, out into the wilderness, into the danger to even get the bomb in the first place, but the timing works against them. I actually think that Nico may have passed in front of Monacy and blocked the shot. Down to 1 HP now. They're both super low. However, Monacy still puts the bullet to the head of Madden, and it's a scout battle at the end. Enemy at the gate style, as Monacy trying his best to defend this site. The bomb is still spilled out just outside of Long. It's still in an awkward position, but there is a bit of time to play with. And Hades, doing his due diligence, checking the angles, could all come down to timing. 1 bullet on either of these players, and this round should be done. Such an integral moment in this match. G2 could extend this lead, and with 25 seconds, now picking up the bomb, Hades has no idea that Monacy's gone walkies, that he's actually gifted this site across. Monacy seemed to think that maybe that rotation was coming in, but now he's about to get that confirmation. B site will be the final resting place of this round. Coming back in again is Monacy. The barrel of the gun may betray Hades if he's not careful right now. It could be a no-scope that finishes this round. Oh, Hades! What a flick onto! What a ridiculous shot! I can't believe he's actually landed that!
What a round! What a round! What a round, Vince. Oh, they just got into each other's heads. Monacy's like, he hasn't made a sound yet. Has he just legged it? Has it gone towards T-spawn? What a shot! That was a fast scope through the edge of the box. And Monacy, we've seen what this kid can do, but Hades, he's showing he can do it as well. A huge round for ENCE to win, as the buy is going to be coming in. For G2, though, they have guns aplenty. A couple of FAMASs, however. I know there are a couple of our fellow talent who aren't a big fan of the French rifle, but look at this, Nico pushing up mid. They're being aggressive. They're being in your face, and I don't think ENCE are going to be ready for this. 4 players making their way towards Long. They have one towards T-spawn, but Nico is making his way there, and that flash should be a tell for Spinks as a player nearby, but Nico does not continue to push any further. And with the amount of noise being made by ENCE towards Long, the defenses of G2 to slowly start to congregate.
Well, we've had such a good match so far. We have plenty more to come up. Round 19, we'll see ENCE starting to pillage and pilfer on towards the A side. Molotov down to the back. There's Madden. There's a gap on that smoke, and Alexi makes the most of this one way. Diha needs to be very careful, but sprays through and gets the reward before m0NESY bounces back with his AWP. Plays a low. m0NESY continues to just orchestrate this devastation onto ENCE. They are not giving up and not relinquishing the site. They fend away the on-pushers and get a 12th round on top of it.
A massive hiccup the previous round, but they're able to counter back. They do lose a couple of players there, but those were the FAMASA, so still have the AWP in play. They're going to be feeling reasonably comfortable for ENCE, though. Actually, it's going to be G2 calling for attack timeout, and I actually like that. Yeah, they know these rounds are pretty back and forth. They want to ensure that, considering the lead they had in the first half, they want to close this out as efficiently as possible, not allowing ENCE back into the game. And that's a way to do it, right? Sure, ENCE win that previous round, but then G2 able to smash it back and force ENCE to what should be just a very light buy.
m0NESY has just seemingly been omnipresent in this game. And Blair, I was a bit worried. I thought, right, he got 6 opening duels. Going his way, his opening kills were super high from middle T-side spawn. That's not really something that you can consistently get success with on the CT side. Is this where he goes off the boil? The answer is a resounding no.
They've gone for the Force, by the way. They've just gone for the Force. It's going to be the full Hail Mary push coming in towards the B bomb side. And FAMASA doing a lot of damage as Diha finds 2, one being one of his teammates. And this B hit has come to a premature stop. Just Madden and Hades remaining, and they will just leg their way out of there. And they're actually going to be running all the way through T-spawn very, very quickly indeed. And that means Alexi, he won't hear them, but for them to cross on over towards the long doors, he should definitely spot them.
Yeah, this is such a great position because not only does it give him intel up middle if they're trying to push up catwalk, additionally now he's just going to have the early intel on the teammates as m0NESY drops the bomb down, and Alexi with the freest of kills, he's going to go for the shank right between the shoulder blades.
Oh my.
Insult to injury, money in the bank, but more importantly, G2 with a 13-7 lead on Dust 2.
This is a good-looking G2. There were a lot of question marks. And I was one of the doubters of the G2 lineup heading into this event. Apart from that incredible debut they had in IEM Katowice, G2 have been looking very, very shaky indeed. They had some very rough runs recently, and then to come into this tournament looking this clean against the upstarts in the form of ENCE, who have been, some people call them even the dark horse of this tournament, right? And the fact that they're coming with the game plan individually looking brilliant and looking very solid indeed. And again, I will have to echo our fellow analysts when they said that this is a must-win map for G2. And right now, they are solid. NiKo and m0NESY are, I think, 11 to 2 in opening duels combined. If that's not a winning formula, I don't know what is. However, right now, though, this B bomb site, it's getting pincered, Vince.
Great flash out, though. It does isolate and stall this push for now. They don't get a kill off the back of it, although it was heavy damage. Now from this side of Madden threads the eye of the needle with a deagle headshot. Beautifully done. However, he's not around long to celebrate it, and Spinks may be getting blown to smithereens from Hunter's grenade. 1 HP on Snappy as well, and Hades, not much to really do as far as he's concerned. Snappy, try as he may, is running into the finished blockade of Alexi. And Hades, last man standing, not for much longer. To be completely honest, though, it does feel like Hades has lacked a little bit of impact in this game, especially, Blair, if you compare him to his opposite number of m0NESY.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is something we've spoken about on the desk as well a number of times, would be how for the side of ENCE, you have the star, you have your superstar in the form of Spinks. You have someone like Madden, the impact he has, Diha as well. And the thing for Hades is we know how good he can be. But it's about the fact that he can be a little inconsistent. And right now, I think you hit the nail on the head. He has been extremely, extremely quiet, especially going up against a team like G2. You can't afford to have your star AWPer being this quiet. It's going 7 and 18 as opposed to 26 and 10 in the form of young m0NESY.
Give me a kill here on Hunter. Perfect crosshair placement. Didn't even have to budge. And yeah, do you know what the damning stat is? I think m0NESY might actually have more opening kills than Hades has combined altogether. Snappy, though, will deal with the over-aggression of Alexi, and that does open up a little business on long side.
Yeah, Alexi B maybe getting a little too overeager. He wasn't expecting the play to be boosted up there towards long doors early on, so he was pushing in because of the smoke, which he had lobbed in deep. So getting a little caught off guard is the IGL of G2. But still, 4 versus 4, pretty even Steven. Snappy is pretty low in health as well, mind you, and 52 points of health in Madden, making sure there's no one behind him. Bear in mind, he's got the bomb as Hunter just clotheslines Hades. But they're going to be pivoting back towards the B bomb side. And for G2, it's a 4v3. There's no need for Jax to budge from his position, as Snappy's trying his desperate best to try and sell this fake towards A. But Nico spots nothing, and that means Jax, he's ready at B.
He is completely in position. Only realistically needs to get 1 kill to be valuable. In the off angle, 1 or 2 with a silence element with the A1S. They had no idea, and he's going to punish them and spray him down. 8 map points now on the side of G2.
Even though I agree with Maui when he said like that this should be G2 taking it, and I did expect G2 to be, you know, pretty convincing on Dust 2. This has been a masterclass coming out from Nico and his band. Looking really, really solid, looking just individually fantastic. And ENCE, I gotta say, they look a little lost. G2 just seem to have a perfect read on whatever they're up to. This hyper-aggression, this almost, I wouldn't say no-respect style, but just like this controlled aggression coming out from the individuals, just catching ENCE off guard multiple times. We saw in the second pistol round as well, for example, Muncie just dropping down mid, getting 3 ridiculous kills. And the pain, it just continues, this symphony of destruction being orchestrated by G2. And Monacy with his conductor stick, I guess? Is that called a conductor stick?
Yeah. Maybe, I thought it was a wand, but I think it is. He's basically the puppet master, right?
Master of puppets? Yeah.
Exactly. Making them dance for him. Alexi B, though, the brains behind this operation, showing he can frag when it's called upon. Here is the man in question. Flick across, never in doubt. Diha hits the dirt maybe for the last time on this map. And Snappy and Spinks have to go above and beyond. Spinks tagging Nico heavily, but on 1 HP, Nico just slaps him out of the server for what should be the last time hit on Dust 2. And Snappy will go the very same way. Domination from G2.
Absolute domination. The two hunters, hunters in the server, the 2 cousins, Nico and Hunter, ending that game, and I do believe it was 22, 23 kills apiece, and then of course Monacy, 27 frags, looking absolutely deadly. Great map overall coming out from G2, and for ENCE, well, I mean, they're obviously not going to be gutted yet. They've been in similar situations in the past as well. Coming up next, obviously going to be Ancient, but that was a masterclass coming out from the side of G2.
Yeah, as you said, we expected G2 probably would win Dust 2. It was maybe a little bit closer than Ancient looked, at least in the stats, but winning Dust 2 in that way, that also makes me a little bit nervous now for Ancient as well, if they're going to continue to perform like that. Like, Monacy was a man possessed. Like, this guy was everywhere, just fragging everybody across the server. However, that's enough for us for the first map. We're going to head back to the desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, a hot start for G2 on their own map pick. 16-7 with some stellar looks, including an almost flawless CT side to be closing out. But more importantly, Pimp, we were craving more from the T side of G2, and we got what we desired on.
We finally got it right. They were able to handle the aggression coming out of ENCE. It was clear to me to see that ENCE saw the game yesterday that G2 played against Spirit, where they struggled so much in that T side. ENCE tried to copy a little bit of that. They tried to be aggressive and towards lower. They tried to push up catwalk, but to me it felt like G2 had it under control. We also listened into Alexi B yesterday where he said, like, I'm not too worried about our T side and Dust 2 because I know exactly what went wrong, and I'm sure we can fix that for tomorrow, and we got to give it to Alexi B. Today was a much better outlook for G2.
Absolutely. I think that G2 right there were able to catch just about any play that ENCE was trying to throw at them in that first half. The one thing that was really concerning me about ENCE's game plan in that first half was the amount of times they wanted to just test Monacy middle. And I think that, yes, we saw Spirit get aggressive on their CT side. They got G2 out of their comfort zone in the past. But the thing is that if you're simply just peeking into one of the hottest Opper prospects out there, not even a prospect, this guy's a star too, then you're just going to reach a very timely demise in the first 20 seconds of every round.
27-10 to be ending out this map. We were kind of laughing at the fact that, you know, Monacy is just taking these duels down mid every single round. Through the smokes as well, he was getting kills too. I mean, you were saying coming into this was a hot map for him back on Na'Vi Jr. He's certainly confident full force on it.
This package is going to showcase exactly that. We're going to see it a couple of times, I think. m0NESY just straight up winning the duel. He's ice cold, and I guess Dust 2 is a map that really plays into his qualities as well. m0NESY is without a doubt one of the fastest AWP players out there. The best reflexes, dare I say it, right? And this duel in between the doors, almighty, he get a little bit lucky right here. That's just bread and butter for m0NESY.
Yeah, there's nothing really worse than trying to peek into an Opper as fast as m0NESY. You have to try to trick him, you have to try to get him off kilter, but when ENCE is throwing a steady diet of mid-peaks in his direction, or they're just playing stationary, allowing him to use his speed and try to peek into them too, he's going to do such a great job. I think the main thing here was the opening kill success percentage. That is insane.
Incredible. Yeah, it's amazing to see what kind of work m0NESY could be pulling off. Somebody else that was also looking incredibly confident coming into this, particularly on that T side, NiKo. Man, I mean, going up against a fully fired up NiKo, some of the jewels he was taking, you knew he was going to be coming in confident.
NiKo just, once again, showing that he is one of the top players in the world. I think we've been trying to spin the stats a little bit, that Spinks is one of the best out there right now, and he's been in incredible form. He's been incredibly hot, but I think the thing is that NiKo, he's tried and tested. He's a guy that's gunning for this major at this point, whereas ENCE, they're definitely a team that's going to probably make it further in this tournament, but it'd be a shame if G2 don't come top 4 at this major.
We talked a little bit about it, right? Spinks, when he's going up against the best of the best, he does, seem a little less strong than he is when he's going up against a top 10 team or top 15 team. We saw that in this game as well. He went 11 for 16, and as you said, NiKo, it's quite the opposite, right? He's a player that whenever he's playing against the best of the best, that's when he's thrived the most. That's when he's playing his best brand of Counter-Strike. And I must say, watching him play, and I guess the aesthetics of the way he's aiming, the way he's just one-tapping people, you can just feel he's in the zone. And if you just have a little bit of understanding for how the movement works in Counter-Strike, it's clear for me to see that right now he's in the zone, and NiKo is definitely showing up to the major in a good shape.
And watching this particular map as well, it didn't take long for G2 to get that momentum rolling. So we've got round 2 to put onto the microscope now.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a problem for ENCE. You can't really afford this, right? You win the pistol, you're supposed to get off to a good start. Madden here as well gets 2 kills, and it's a 5v3 and a force buy versus G2. But the quality of m0NESY and NiKo, we see it right here. An amazing shot with the deagle. m0NESY hitting a guy with a scout, and all of a sudden, ENCE find themselves in a 3v3 where m0NESY gets another kill. You cannot afford it if you're ENCE, right? You have to win these rounds. You have to capitalize. You have to make sure that you get off to a good start, convert the pistol round. And we saw it yesterday with Spirit as well. G2 losing a pistol round. The round after, NiKo went to 1v2 with a deagle. And I mean, how many dangerous signs do you need to see, right? You gotta play them 100% cautious. And I think ENCE were getting a little bit ahead of themselves here in this round.
A little bit overzealous, I could say that. One guy I do want to give a lot of credit to on this G2 lineup that has been really being criticized broadly by a lot of the audience out there has been Alexi B. I think that the T side that he put together is almost so good that if they didn't have NiKo, it still would have worked out. I think that some of the splits that they had, some of the ways that they were taking map control, incredibly safe. There was throwing a little bit of misdirection in the face of ENCE, and I think that the way that they basically split the map in half so many rounds consecutively made it so awkward for ENCE to have their rotators really have any effect. They were just choked off of too many angles too consistently. So Alexi B put together a really solid game plan, and they thrived because of it.
Only once in the first half did ENCE manage to win 2 rounds in a row. At no point were they able to build up any economy. At no point were they able to build up any momentum. When you only win 1 round here and there, it's just going to be a struggle some half, right? You win a round, the next bar is going to be a little bit scrappy. You lose the following, and you just screwed again. So for ENCE to be in that scenario, I agree with you. Alexi B, despite only having 10 kills, he called a good T-side, and he was a big part of the reason as to why G2 won.
And that echoes perfectly the interview that you were referencing after that game yesterday where, it was a struggle for G2 to pull it over the line versus Spirit. The fact that he knew exactly what he needs to improve coming into today was really impressive. I just want to highlight one issue from the side of ENCE. I thought it was interesting that we got a Devil Walks inside, particularly about Marden when we were coming into yesterday's games. The fact that there's so much explosivity out of him and Diha combined. But just looking at some of the statistics, 13 entry attempts throughout this map, only able to win 3 of them. I feel like that's a really big hole when you're looking at the side of firepower for ENCE.
It is really tough, and I think the thing is that I'm just vividly remembering some of the times that they died early on in rounds, and some of that was just peeking mid, trying to get into lower. So you could see that ENCE's game plan did involve trying to get G2 out of their comfort zone by playing aggressive on the CT side, but that's where m0NESY just farms them. I mean, you couldn't get through those double doors middle without m0NESY taking you down. So I think that's maybe more of a symptom of the game plan that ENCE had than actually those 2 players having too many individual faults on their own.
And specifically talking about m0NESY and Madden, the head head-to-head duels in this game, m0NESY won 8 out of 9. Right, he took him down 8 times, and Madden only did it once to m0NESY, and that's a problem, right? We talked about ENCE and some of the win conditions. Well, they had to control the trio of NiKo, Hunter, and m0NESY, and they couldn't control m0NESY. They couldn't control NiKo on the T side, and Hunter does what he always does. You know, without being flashy, he played a solid game of Counter-Strike, and then all of a sudden you have this trio that could be the best in the world, and if you don't control them, you're going to be in deep trouble.
We're going to see if ENCE can flip the script. It is their map pick coming into the second map of this best of 3 series, and it is going to be Ancient. We're going to be breaking it down after this short break.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do, and now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all.
To succeed in this game, you need to invest in yourself. Be daring. Innovate. Calculate. Never hesitate. Follow your instincts. Don't follow the crowd. Back yourself. Bank your wealth. Analyze, strategize, and galvanize. Now is the time. Take your shot.
Esports is what we live and breathe. For us, it's more than a game. It's a reality, where a group of letters can mean everything. Where Mirage is a place for bombs, battles, and glory, not an illusion. Where the true heroes are those in front of the screen. GG Bet. This is real.
An absolute masterclass from G2 on their pick of Dust 2. But now it's time to see if ENCE can turn the tables. We've got Ancient coming into the mix. So, gentlemen, how are we comparing these two teams so far coming into this round?
I mean, we have a team that is in a very great shape on Ancient in the form of ENCE. They played some fantastic Counter-Strike on the map. I would reckon and say they are one of the best teams in the world on the map, so it makes an awful lot of sense for them to pick it. Whereas for G2, that is the one map that hurts them a lot in their map pool, and that is the one map that hurts them a lot in their journey to potentially win the major. Now, we saw it during the RMR. It was a problem for them. They got absolutely dismantled by Astralis, especially on the CT side, only winning 3 rounds after being 2-0 up, I believe, or 2-1 up. They only won 1 round in the remaining 12 in that scenario, so that's not good enough for G2. I'm curious to see if they worked on it. I'm curious to see if they fixed this, because for me, if Ancient is a good map for G2, then we're talking about a team who have a strong map pool, who potentially could go all the way at the major. But if Ancient is a problem for them, we know Na'Vi played, we know FaZe played, we know ENCE played, we know Astralis played, they have to be better on it.
Yes, yeah, they do. And I think ENCE is going to be an excellent test for them because it's all about prep work coming into events like this. And I think that G2 are a team that have shown some progress, but I kind of actually have only seen incremental progress from what we first saw when they actually debuted with this lineup. And that's something that's a bit of concern, because you think the coaching staff, you think Alexi B would come up with a few more solutions for this roster. But I do think that ENCE right now are in a tricky situation where some of their players that really were supposed to show up on Dust 2 did not deliver whatsoever. And I think that when you have put so much onus on a player like Spinks and then he just doesn't deliver in the star way that he's used to, then you're going to have a lot of trouble taking down a team like G2, even if they're not in the best form on a map like this.
Yeah, I really like that narrative about G2, and in terms of, they were one of the teams that weren't too afraid to be picking into Ancient. I remember them playing in the last major grand final. They picked in Ancient as a bit of a curveball pick there as well, but it's interesting to hear that, they haven't had much development on this particular map. Going back to that series versus Astralis at the RMR Pimp, any specific holes, any specific issues for the side of G2 on this map?
Pretty much all over the map, to be completely honest, yeah. It was a very poor CT side. They never got their groove. They never got their footing into the game. It felt like Astralis had a read on them every single round. They constantly abused them, especially the mid area of the map. We praise Config a lot for going out there and finding the openings, and he did that over and over against G2. It felt like, to me, a lot of the rounds, G2 were left, fighting by themselves. And what I mean by that, then Nico had a 1v2 fight somewhere on the map. Then Jax had a 1v2 fight somewhere on the map. Then Hunter tried for a 1v2 fight somewhere on the map. There was no cohesion. There was no synergy in between the players. They need to fix that, and they need to do much, much better today, because ENCE is easily as good as Astralis when it comes to Ancient.
Yeah, the man that I want people to look out for in this one for ENCE and their game plan is the guy that's actually going to try to replicate Config's roles of the T side from Astralis, and that's Spinks. Spinks is that guy that's frequently out middle early in the round. He's the guy that's trying to take space away from G2, and if he is able to bounce back from his last map performance, then G2 are in for a world of hurt, because he is darn good at actually taking that space, and players like Snappy do an excellent job in terms of supporting him. Hades throwing those flashes from T-Spawn to help him out. Everyone is doing their part in trying to get Spinks activated on this map.
And speaking about Snappy's approach and game plan, particularly coming into this map, anything that we should be looking out for, viewers should be looking for?
I mean, I want to see more from ENCE. I want to see the players feel more free. I want to see them to be able to take the duels and go for it. I want to be able to see them play with the confidence that we've seen from them on a map like Ancient, especially considering this is a map that G2 are not comfortable on. I'm looking at the stats right now. m0NESY have played Ancient 3 times with G2, and his rating over those 3 games on average, 0.77. We watched him during the We Play Academy League own everyone on Ancient, right? He was a menace, especially on the CT side. He would post 1.9, 1.8, 1.7 ratings and just destroy everyone. In G2, he hasn't found his footing whatsoever. So can you utilize that? Do you create your game plan around m0NESY as a bad player? Because you can't really do that after you saw Dust 2, right? So for instance, to be in this kind of weird scenario where you just have to play in your own brand of Counter-Strike, usually I hate when teams say, we have to play our way, our style, but in this case, it makes sense.
I think the thing that m0NESY was able to thrive off of was the fact that when he was playing on Na'Vi Jr., a lot of times there just wasn't the best trading from his opponents. A team like ENCE, we're going to see Modern and Snappy both just try to tackle him in that cave area. If one guy doesn't get the entry on him, the second guy's going to be right there. So m0NESY has to have fallback routes that are just a little bit safer than I'm used to seeing.
We're going to see exactly how it does go down, and if ENCE can flip the script, indeed, we're throwing it on over to Vincent Blair.
Thank you very much, Freya and the desk. We had a pretty fun first map. Even though it ended 16-7, there were some incredible clutches, an amazing performance from m0NESY, and we had glimpses of brilliance from Nico and Hunter. What we didn't really see, though, Blair, disappointingly, is any of ENCE's players truly step up to the mark and deliver.
Yeah, and that's what we saw from the side of G2, right? Hades having a little bit of a quiet game, but we'll get to that a little bit later on, as ENCE are off to a very quick start here. Hades already creeping up towards mid with a 50 in hand, duking it out with Hunter, and a sliver of vision for Hunter, but that's all he needs to find Hades' head.
As is so often the case, just give him a pixel and he will exploit it and splatter adversaries. Players up on the donut, 2 of them, Jax and Hunter still in position. Hunter mainly just baiting for Jax to have the freebie frag in the back, but they're also being pushed in meanwhile from main, and it's Diha who had some pretty big moments in the early stages of Dust 2, especially in the pistol, which remember they won the first pistol round, and it was mainly off his back, and that's why his aim is on point. He also dinks Jax at range and puts him in such an awkward position, but Jax is passing the test so far, dropping the bomb carry where he stands before Alexi goes in through red, and finally Nico does spill the bomb out one more time. 2 on 2, but m0NESY is making Madden put down with authority. Diha still alive, started the round with the first frag and will be coming full circle for ENCE should they win this, and they will! The pole reigns supreme!
Huge round coming in there from Dia, and he's been so clutch. We talk about how Hades has been kind of quiet in the first map. Spinks is the guy you're looking at as well, especially on this T side. We saw the desk break it down where Maui mentioned how, you know, it is going to be Spinks kind of playing that Config role on the T side. Config probably, in my opinion, one of the best T side ancient players out there at the moment, and we talk about all these guys, but we can't forget Diha, how instrumental he was, and even some of the few rounds that ENCE were able to convert in that first map. So huge round coming out from Diha there, get the flank in all the way from the A bomb side and able to close it out in that 1 versus 2. Force Fire going to be coming in here as Spinks will immediately dispatch off Nico with Modesty with the scout, and Spinks will immediately trade Madden, and that is something that Dusk actually brought up earlier on. For Modesty and his pathing when it comes to his fallback routes, it needs to be a little bit more safer. As I say that though, Hunter finds Snappy, and all of a sudden, it's a 3v3.
It is the cavalry and the support beginning to arrive though up on the ramp. We'll see both Hades and Diha taking shape. Spinks has already made up enough room. Flash in his eyes, blinded momentarily, does take a headshot, but the MP9 at that range will not finish him off. Now Alexi behind the Molotov had a chance. It seems like he may have let it slip out of his hands. That could have been the moment that saw ENCE potentially fall in this second round force buy. Instead, though, Alexi can really only save this 5-7 in Kevlar, and ENCE will be off to a 2-0 lead here on Ancient.
Looked a little scary there, but great work coming in from Spinks. Going for this duels, not really having much backup as well. He's pretty much on the ace, unfortunately won't be able to find Alexi. He's far away from where the rest of the action took place. But yeah, just to continue on that trend of thought where, you know, our Dusk was speaking about when it comes to Modesty, we saw how impactful it could be on Dusk. We saw how impactful he is on almost every other map with the AWP. On the CD side, though, it's the way, you know, his fallback route usually leaves him in a very uncomfortable spot where he gets caught on the open. And ENCE, it's about a trading. We saw the really sick flick shot coming out from him, but just the way the spacing and the grouping from ENCE able to make sure that they're able to get these trades efficiently and ensure that even if they do lose a couple of players, if they get the bomb down, you know, it's 3v2, that's fine. That's fair enough. You have the individuals and the right protocol to play those and to play those post plans. It's Alexi B. Okay. Runs on in with a save 5-7. He's going to find one. Hunter as well looking to poke and prod. And these are the rounds where G2 can be dangerous. And these are the rounds where, you know, they don't really have much to lose. You just have the pistols to work with, and they get hyper aggressive. And that's when they could potentially catch some of these players off guard. And if you lose an AK, it falls in the hands of someone like Nico, Hunter, or Modesty. That's when some of these rounds, which should be a guaranteed win for you, kind of spirals out of control. Good nade there from Snappy. Able to get a trade, a little bit of a belated trade on towards Alexi B. As slowly but surely ENCE will group up together, heading towards the A bomb side, where Hunter, he's got a Deagle, and Modesty, just a USB. But this Deagle, we've seen it happen in the past.
We certainly have. Plus the fact that he's going to go unchecked from the cave, so he can have his back completely covered right now. Hunter, what do you have up your sleeve? 1 kill. Going to start to run out of ammunition, though. He didn't get that cleanly, and that costs him his life. Snappy will not fall to his hands. A lot of damage inflicted, though. Jackson Nico still with a chance, but Nico spammed up through the smoke. Will play no further part in this round. Beginning to believe in a potential G2 miracle, but ENCE weren't interested. And they moved to a 3-0, but of course, here comes the first full purchase on the side of the CTs.
Yeah, this is going to be the first real tense test here for the side of ENCE. And if you actually go back to some of the earlier games ENCE used to play, and this is to add on to what our desk touched upon, for Snappy and his style of calling, it's very heavily based around spawn-based calling, right? It's going to be off the spawn, they're just going to be going for this executes and some of these set plays. And if you're able to stymie them, if you're able to keep them kind of pinned down and asphyxiate them, keep them pinned behind a double doors, don't give them the mid-control early on, that's when I feel like sometimes ENCE used to struggle a little bit. This is a while ago. Right now, I feel like they have gotten much more comfortable. Some of the individuals, some of the youngsters, they've kind of been given the freedom, the autonomy to work with. But look at his aggression. Nico spots one. And also the second players as well. And he's going to find Snappy. They are getting pincered, and they are getting absolutely annihilated here. 2 nice opening picks from G2, and they will fall back. Hades, however, able to team up with his teammate in the form of Spinks to at least get a trade into Nico, but they have absolutely no map control right now.
Alexi out for the peek. The flash was good. And Alexi narrowly missing out on the chance to bag himself a Diha, which would be a very rewarding kill, considering how solid he's been. Basically won the pistols simultaneously with only the Glock. And now Diha jumping down into the Bogdan's Law, has the 13 HP to his name. Molly tossed over on middle, forces Hunter out into a different angle, but is still facing middle, and that's to his detriment. Spinks on the drive-by just smashes him straight in the forehead, and in doing so, ENCE have a chance. Now, there's only 30 seconds left, and as mentioned, 2 players are low, and they also have themselves m0NESY to contend with the AWP peeking round the corner ever so slowly. It may only require 1 kill from m0NESY, but he misses his chance. He was so on point the entirety of Dust 2, and could that miss prove to be costly? It's at least going to cost him his life. They may not anticipate the triple stack. Alexi but they deal with him. If he was able to survive through on Donut and just get round the corner, he could have won off the back of time. Instead, though, ENCE get a 4-0 lead.
Spinks has come alive. He has come alive here, Vince. 12-1 on a T side with 4 rounds. His 12 kills in 4 rounds. That's ludicrous. And this round, like you said, all LXCB had to do was stay alive, and Spinks catches him with the last final bullets in his magazine. He has an average of 3 kills per round. That's ludicrous. Even though it's still early days, that's actually kind of obscene as Spinks. He's a player that Pimp and Maui mentioned is going to be the thorn in the side of the G2's defense, and he's showing why. Right now, though, pistols for the side of G2, they will have to go for just the upgraded hand cannons in the form of the Deagle, the 5.7s, and even a CZ in play over here. ENCE just going to take this one slow. That is, thought they would do a little bit more damage, but the Pillar taking the brunt of the force. Madden, though, he's pushed in deep. And then Mag-10, he can just go for a drive-by here.
Smoke is well placed. There is one in counteractive positions tossed in from LXCB, though, to stop Cave being forced in on B side. So pretty much just cancel each other out. The thing is, though, the ENCE have tons more utility to fall back on. The same could not be said for G2. ENCE should be very weary of a potential flank, though. Must have a good idea as to the current economic standing of their opponents. And Snappy makes short work of LXCB. He'll play no further part in this round. Now Madden is given the green light to press aggressively. This is where he's in his element. 1 kill with the Mag-10 should be good enough, but m0NESY with the Deagle puts it between the eyes of Diha. And with 30 seconds left, the bomb will be finalized onto the site. The aforementioned CZ is all that remains as an arsenal of weaponry on the side of G2. No flashes, no kits available to Hunter. Hoping he can extend his kill count to 4. Is successful on those endeavors, but it costs him 87 health. He'll gladly pay that price, though, especially if the reward is an AK-47. And he tries to dip out of there. Snappy gets flashed into the peak, down to 28 HP. And now Hunter is just trying his best to survive. I think he will be afforded this luxury, but it still will read, Blair, 5-0 to ENCE on their T side, already with a great half.
Looking very comfortable, our snapping this man. And this is... it's great that it's playing out this way, because I 100% agree with how the devs were alluding to how this ancient T side from ENCE can be absolutely deadly. Overall, the CT and T side and G2 left a little floundering. That being said, they really haven't been afforded the opportunity to wield the full arsenal that many times, right? So once again, we have the chance here for G2 to show what they've got on the CD side as the op. Once more will come out for m0NESY. The AK-47 salvaged in the previous round in the hands of Hunter, the rest of them with A1 and a lot of utility as well. 3-man push towards mid early on, trying to wrest control from ENCE here, as m0NESY goes with a very, very fast flick, but unfortunately it won't find its mark, and is still sticking around. He's sticking around because he's got his teammates nearby in towards Jaguar in the form of LXCB, but ENCE, they're fine just waiting and biding the time. Nico, however, finds Hades, and that's an important, crucial kill. Looking for more as Madden tries to just poke and prod, maybe try and get the trade. And G2, though, they're looking to try and keep ENCE pinned down, and it is working out. DHL does reply back with 1, but it is a 2 versus 4. That being said, m0NESY and Nico are very low, but doesn't matter when you're hitting shots like that.
Diha has been put down, and G2 will pick up their very first round here on Ancient CT side. ENCE now will have more than enough funds, albeit on Madden, just 3,300.
and a tactical timeout has been deployed from the T's as a result, already nearly equalizing the grand total of rounds they picked up on Dust 2. But I don't think that necessarily paints a full picture as to how that game went. If you have just joined us, it was a pretty nail-biting game to start off with, at least. There was a lot of clutches. Diha started very strong. It was mainly a fact that Hades had a bit of a slow game, which is the same for the start of this one, but Spinx is just firing on all cylinders. Meanwhile, on G2, we've seen glimpses, but m0NESY hasn't quite had that same impact. Tactical timeout now will be coming to a close, and ENCE, as anticipated, with a full purchase, looking to try and get aggressive, perhaps. The thing is, though, Bled, G2, yes, you've got yourself a round. That's excellent. You've got to build off that, though. You cannot just be a one-pump jump. Like, you've got to put some rounds together and string them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying. And this time around, ENCE are like, yeah, we're not going to keep giving you control towards mid. Nice. That was a team flash. I'm not too sure. Hunter dealing the damage with bullets and the nade will finish off the job. As the IGL for ENCE will fall early on. But at least they do have control of mid. And G2 not looking to replicate what they did the previous round. Instead, going to be playing in a much more passive position. We have 2 players towards A. Hunter playing all the way towards Donut. Now, if they go for a hit here right now for ENCE, they could actually get the bomb down here. Smokes will be deployed. Madden blinded for a second. Alex, I'm not sure if you heard the player, as he is being kept at bay by the bull by Diha. Spinx will peek on through, and Madden, amongst all the chaos and confusion, finds NiKo in a 4v3 here with the bomb getting planted. If I'm G2, I just save your weapons. Like, the AWP in the hands of m0NESY, not ideal for a retake scenario on a map like this. And just like that, what you feared has transpired, Vince. G2, they needed to string a few rounds together here, but ENCE, they stumble once, they don't stumble again. Immediately wrested back from G2, going for a bit of a contact play towards the B bomb side, and unfortunately for G2, because they had gone for a little bit of a gamblish stack towards the A side, 3 members towards the Donut A bomb side area, leaving just NiKo and Alexi B to hold on to B bomb side defense, and they were in really good positions. You can see, if you look at the radar, for example, you can see when Alexi B died. NiKo as well, caught looking the wrong way towards short, getting shot in the side of his head by Madden. It's a pretty simple round coming out from ENCE, pretty much of a contact play, but the way they were able to get that despite losing Snappy early on, again, shows why ENCE is so comfortable on this map.
Well, the good news for G2 is they saved 3 weapons, and they would have been able to buy regardless, but this just allows them to have all the fine trimmings and, of course, more importantly, 2 AK-47s, the premium assault rifle. That's always a huge boon to your arsenal of weaponry. See if any early engagements, aggression comes to the forefront. Smoke up onto red. m0NESY, good spawn, gets in close proximity, but again misses out on his shot. This time, it's afforded by a flashbang. He is having a little bit more trouble here, m0NESY, though. Nowhere near the same levels of impact as the early rounds on Dust 2, and now flashes a plenty flurry of them, but Snappy still connects onto the head of Alexi B, and in doing so, ENCE again are in a 5v3. However, Hunter is keeping this A side a little bit more grimly contested as far as ENCE are concerned. 2 frags already down, keeping himself in the fight for the time being and allowing his teammates to move in as well. Hunter's picked up a 3rd, and now they can try and pincer in and flank Hades, who's given his position away. Hunter has finally fallen, but he will fall a hero. However, no one will be there to celebrate him unless NiKo can clutch this one out. 30 HP left on Snappy, plenty of time allocated on the clock, which is for the better of Snappy because he has to still retrieve that bomb and come across to potentially plant it. But NiKo's already making moves into Donut. He's a couple of steps ahead. Even if Snappy gets this plant down, he is surely a goner in just a few moments' time as NiKo is waiting. But Snappy manages to pick correctly. He threads the eye of the needle. This game of cat and mouse continues right now. NiKo does have a kit, however. And the bomb's not planted for Snappy currently. Remember, 30 HP, 1 bullet may seal the deal. But Snappy stands tall and delivers with a 4K. ENCE take a 7-1 lead.
NiKo did everything there, Vince. It was Hunter and NiKo. Hunter from a position where he should have maybe got 1, maybe 2. He finds 3 huge kills, turns it around, but Snappy, oh Snappy, the IGL also really stepping up with the 4K and also out-reading NiKo. He didn't waste any time, he planted the bomb, and what a quick flick. You've got to remember, he was very low on health, and instantly, of all people, decapitates NiKo. 7-1 for ENCE. And sure, G2 can go for yet another buy, but right now they need more than just buys. And oh, the Molotov dealing a ton of damage onto Snappy and Spinks. And one well-placed nade, and that could be even almost a double here for G2 as they go back to what they did earlier, Vince. The one round they won where they were just being hyper-aggressive towards ramp, the smoke for double doors, and trying to get control of mid and towards the lane Jaguar area. And ENCE now, they're aware of what G2 are up to. How are they going to extricate themselves from this position? That remains to be seen.
Things slowing down a little bit. We've seen a lot of very aggressive and fast rounds. I think one of the main reasons why it's been a bit of a slower start here is because of that Molotov that you touched on. Just eroding away Spinks' health bar. Snappy was also affected in the process. And that's afforded G2 the luxury of getting up close. We have not seen this too often at all. Two players pushing down ramp, one via Jaguar, and it's NiKo through the flash. They try to pincer in, but Madden stands tall. So much damage done through the doors, but no one else has fallen. It's a mystery. All 4 players below 20 HP, and it should be easy pickings at this stage for the rest of G2.
That is actually disgusting from G2. They don't budge. ENCE are probably thinking, all right, they probably use up the utility. They're probably going to be falling back right now. But no, G2, they still stick around. The second smoke is well being deployed. At ENCE, they just get whittled away through the smoke. And like you said, it's a miracle that these 3 players are still alive. There were 4 players there below 20 points of health. And yeah, there is no chance of ENCE turning this one around. Even though they had a little bit of time, they look at their health, they're like, yeah, no, we're setting this one out. It's okay. We still have money. Madden can buy for himself. Or actually, you know, Spinks and Snappy can drop to Madden and Hades. It will still have a lot of utility to work with. The thing here for G2 is both the rounds they've won have been with these really aggressive rounds where they are keeping ENCE pinned down towards double doors, towards mid. And if they do it again, for ENCE, like, it can get very messy, or the only other avenue they have is maybe go for the A play, which we really haven't seen yet. We've seen them go for, like, late rotations, or, like, you know, coming down to 3v3s, sneaking their way towards A, but we haven't really seen an A coming out, as Snappy looking to take the fight, looking to utilize the MAC-10, the mobility afforded by the MAC-10, but he will be taken down, and Monacy, with the AWP, finds Madden.
Gonna get smoked off, but he's already picked up one, and with a second frag through middle, and a third as well. It's looking good that G2, for the first time on this half, are going to string 2 rounds together. Now, Diha and Spinks, I'm sure, are going to have something to say about that. 17 kills distributed between the 2 of them, 13 of which is on Spinks. Maybe a little bit top-heavy. Diha, keep in mind, 3 of his 4 kills were in the pistol round. He basically single-handedly won that one. The bomb down for his teammate. Great headshot onto Monacy. Second kill is required, though, on the site before that becomes free. NiKo is playing around the box, but Spinks sprays him down before he gets caught from the side. And that's Jax that spills the bomb down with his life. Diha now in all sorts of bother, but he's picked up another one. And this is proving to be a costly round for G2. And it may not be done just yet, but Diha is unable to thread the kills and unable to steal and snatch away that round for ENCE.
Still a big round. It was a 2v5, Vince.
Yeah.
It was 2 versus 5, and you said it best with Spinks and Diha. They were able to take away so many rifles there, ensuring that, sure, you give up the round, but at least you're able to deal an economic blow towards G2. So yeah, G2 aren't going to be too happy with the way that round played out. And if you look at the cash, you can clearly see why. 3 players sub $1,000, and this time around, ENCE are going to switch things up. It's going to be a fast play coming in towards B, and they're walking straight into the belly of the beast. NiKo spraying, blinded through the smoke, finds 2, looking for more. The third will fall as well, and they're getting absolutely obliterated. Monacy chiming in with a frag of his own, and G2, it took a while, Vince, but they're starting to come alive.
They are starting to shift through the gears. We're in an interesting position now where I don't think the money on ENCE is particularly fantastic. Seems like the players are deep in thought. Conversations about smoking. And yes, the economy on ENCE is pretty dire. So they're down to Deagles as it stands. Molly's through middle. We've seen this many a time, and a smoke on top of it as well. It's going to keep the T's at bay. Meanwhile, they're looking to push over on the construction side. This could put Alexi in a bit of an awkward position, but that Molotov is so good. Spinks, though, passes the bullet in the head of Hunter before NiKo makes amends and avenges his fallen teammate with 3 quick-fire frags. nearly picks up a very stylish fourth, and Diha is the last man standing. Bomb nowhere to be seen. And although Diha's already proven his worth multiple times over in this tournament with the Deagles, with the pistols, I think this may be asking a little bit too much of the man. Down he goes. G2 have made that deficit suddenly vanish down to just 2.
Bit of an Eco Cobra from Nico that round, just the pistols, but it's okay, For ENCE, though, the previous round, it was the force buy, right? We had a MAC-10, we had some upgraded pistols, we had an AK-47, and now, just a round prior, it was just primarily the pistols for ENCE. So, a couple of rounds that they had to give up to G2, but yeah, but G2, stringing a few rounds together, here's some signs of life. But if you're ENCE, though, Vince, you're still feeling very comfortable, right? 7 rounds on the T side of a map like Ancient, you're already sitting pretty comfortably. But considering you are a map down, you want to ensure that heading into the second half, you have as substantial a lead as possible. You want to get to that 10-round lead potentially. And look, 10 rounds on the T side of Ancient sounds ludicrous in all honesty. But then if you're ENCE, a map that is supremely comfortable on, it is definitely within the realms of possibility. That being said, 3 rounds remain here. And for them to get to 10, they need to win all 3, which I won't lie, with G2 waking up right now, it doesn't look unlikely. And G2 once more going for the aggressive play towards mid. Look at the amount of utility, a barrage of them just being lobbed down mid, and also towards Jaguar and the ramp position.
Yeah, and we've seen ENCE try and capitalize and counteract this smoke at early Molotov as Alexi picks up the kill, the wallbang onto Snappy. Unfortunate timing. We've seen Snappy himself try and push through mid with like a MAC-10, an AK, trying to beat that smoke based off spawn. But there's always 1 or 2 players there to contend with him. G2 seem to have the winning formula right now with this mid control.
Yeah, and that's something I alluded to earlier as well, where, if you're able to keep ENCE pinned down, right, stymie the early map control they're vying for, that is when ENCE, they seem to just wait it out. They don't really seem to necessarily have a secondary or tertiary plan. They kind of wait it out and then slowly try to make a late push, but because of the lack of, just real estate you have, you don't know where the CTs are, right? And that's when you get mowed down, get completely chomped down in the jaws of players like a Nico or like a Hunter. Nico's gonna smoke himself off. Try and be lucky through the smoke. Still, it's a 5v4, and I love this. I love this from G2. Yeah. Being proactive, they know it's going to be the hit coming in towards A now, but the fact that mid is open and so is Donut, this could go very, very wrong.
They saw Diha, they saw his back just around the corner, they know what's coming up, there's the first, and they know exactly where ENCE are looking to finish. This information is worth so much, it's so valuable. Diha fully flashed, 18 seconds to go. First casualty for the CTs has now been added to 2. Diha's picked up 3 on 21 HP and may have enough time for the plant as well. He's going to get sprayed through the wall, and Hunter is going to spoil the party for Diha. However, his 3 kills so nearly got the job done, and now G2 are officially on fire. That's 5 rounds in a row.
And you can see the effect it's having on the confidence. We're talking about how they were kind of scraping at the bottom of the barrel, trying to get, just get a few buys here and there, but right now they are flush with cash heading into the penultimate round of the first half. I gotta say, yeah, Diha for a moment there, Vince, I was like, oh, this is actually gonna happen, but Hunter will shut it down. G2 are being very proactive, they're being very aggressive in your face. Vulgar display of power here as Alexi B spots a player out. They're gonna try and push him. The pistols again. Looking to get the work done is Nico. Once more trying to be aggressive, but the Tech 9s and the Deagle actually in the hands of Spinks will find him, and that's a rifle picked up by ENCE. Bear in mind, they only have pistols to work with right now. So G2, after this string of rounds they've won, to slip up here would be, I wouldn't say disastrous, but it would be rough.
Oh, this would sting. This would seriously sting, but Jackson and Alexi will hold the line on ramp. They have now been fallen and put in their place. Hunter through the smoke is going to come out second best, and it does appear that will be the case. G2 have money to go for this. Only 1 more round to play in this half, and Madden takes out m0NESY. It was 5 rounds unanswered. The rot was beginning to set in, but ENCE have alleviated. They've got themselves another couple round advantage, and that was with pistols, as you said, Flair. It may not completely break the back of G2, but that is going to feel like a gut punch from Mike Tyson.
I do not want to be receiving end of any punch from Mike Tyson, unlike that guy on that flight. But 8-6 ENCE still going to be very comfortable, and that was because ENCE only had the pistols. They weren't really respecting the smokes and the flashbangs. They're like, YOLO, screw it, just going to push on in, and that's how they're able to kind of punish G2 for the aggression. This time around, it's going to be a clean hit coming in towards A. They have the utility as well, they have the weaponry, and Jack's trying his best to stay alive. He's got back nearby towards Donut, but he's burning, he's getting riddled, he's in the smoke. I don't know what's going on, but a bomb will be planted by Diha, but there's still someone in the site, and it is NiKo, and he will strike.
And he strikes hard. So far beyond driven as NiKo is going to try and do this by himself. Diha is still stuck around the temple, praying to the CS gods that they can somehow give him safety, safe passage against this immortal fragger who keeps himself alive with the smoke. Now stuck at the back of the boxes, the rest of the support structure has arrived, including Monasty's AWP, and now the T's begin to capitulate. G2 will finish the half in 6 of 7 rounds won, an 8-7 scoreline overall. This game could not be closer.
7-1 was a scoreline in favor of ENCE before G2 finally woke up. I like the call coming from G2 there. The one slip-up they had was, of course, they went for that aggressive play towards ramp once more. Unfortunately, the pistols from ENCE meant they weren't really going to be respecting the smokes or the utility being lobbed in. Once NiKo falls, that's when things kind of spiraled out of control. But overall, good resurgence from G2, in all honesty. It really looked like ENCE were going to be running away with that half. And let's be real, 8 rounds is still very, very, very good for ENCE. Some might even say the win condition has been more than satisfied, Vince, right? Like, you're looking at 5 rounds on the T side, that most teams are going to be happy with that. And ENCE, a map which is their playground, one of the best teams on the planet, alongside the likes of Astralis on this map. ENCE are going to be feeling pretty mighty comfortable. And here we go, G2, pistol round. They have a couple of smokes, 2 Molotovs, and a flash. And that, for me, is telling of a B hit.
Oh, Hades instantly gets headshot and he gets aim punched. It looked like his aim may have been on for a headshot there. It's Snappy to try and hold off by himself, but he has also crumbled under the pressure, under the strain, as Hunter moves on for 16 frags. Both he and NiKo have reached that mark. And Jax is going to catch Spinks in the back, lines up the shot. Nice work with the P250. G2 looking good to pick up this pistol. Now do the world of good towards their overall round mark. Donut now being pushed through. Diha, the pistol king of the first half, is still alive, still kicking, and still claiming heads. There's now ENCE will be sweating bullets, hoping that this carry can continue to stay alive. The bomb's been spilled out. Madden pushes through the smoke, but Jax is there to greet him for a second P250 kill. Diha in trying so desperately to clutch this round out. It looked like he may have picked up a headshot there. Going back in again, but Alexi B will just about hold on for dear life. And it will indeed be an 8th round to G2.
Diha is an animal in these pistol rounds. And again, for a moment there, I was like, is it going to happen once more? Is he going to just crush the dreams of G2 in some of these pistol rounds? But G2, they're able to stave off the beast. The flying Alexi B, a rare sight on this map of Ancient. But they will manage to get the pistol round. Now it's about surviving this force buy from ENCE, surviving the eco, and then slowly but surely trying to find their way back into this game as Alexi B finds Spinks. And again, we got to go back to the beginning of the series and how our analysts were painting a picture that ENCE on Ancient is pretty much a guaranteed win. And for G2 to take this, it's going to be a 2-1 where they need to take Dust 2, which have done so in a very convincing fashion, and now they need to basically just sit through the pain that is Ancient and then head on to Mirage and get the win over there. But right now, if G2 if they're able to shock and awe ENCE a little bit, they could get pretty interesting.
I hate to do this, Blair, but it's kind of, we have to mention this.
Do it.
Hades is 2-12. Collectively in both maps, he's got 9 kills. He's supposed to be one of their heavy hitters. You have Spinks going crazy on 18. He's top fragging on the server. He can't do much more. He needs Hades to wake up. If ENCE don't have Hades show up on the server, they may lose this map.
Absolutely. And again, like you said, I hate to say it as well. It's something which I've mentioned on the desk earlier in the past, that Hades, we know how good it can be. We know how clutch it can be. We know how fantastic it can be with the weapon of choice. And not just with the AWP. I think overall, all around, he's a very solid player. But he doesn't have the consistency of a Spinks or even the, Diha or even Madden, right? Like, you can see Diha kind of, in my eyes, a secondary star on this team, after which there is Hades. But if he's not going to be stepping up in moments like these, that's when things get a little tricky. That being said, I'm just going to throw him a bone and say that, it was a T-side of Ancient. Opping, not ideal, one of the hardest map, in my opinion, to be wielding the AWP. So hopefully it comes alive here on the CD side. Right now, though, it is going to be ENCE just holding on to his pistols and keeping it for round number 18.
To be fair as well, when your team is performing pretty well and you're an AWPer, sometimes you just don't get opportunities.
True.
To try and play devil's advocate, but I also think when he has had chances, he hasn't really capitalized on the way you'd expect them to. G2, however, we're obviously discussing over this round because it was pretty much a 4-player save, and there's no reason for G2 to rush in here and potentially give across some of these rifles. They did pick up 4 of them. So 9 players do survive come the end of the round, and it will be G2 taking the lead. And if I'm not mistaken here, Blair, I believe this is the first time G2 have led this entire map.
Yeah, considering the start ENCE had, it was looking very, very grim. G2, though, they can't lift their foot off the pedal quite yet, because for ENCE, they did hold on to their pistols. And even though they lost one member, another, I think I do believe it was a 5-7 getting dropped in, and we know how good these players can be. The weaponry Spinks and leading the charge. He's going to be a little bit of a cubby, but Hunter will find him. Aim punch will be the undoing, as Snappy trying to extricate himself from this corner and is doing a great job just dodging these nades. Trying his desperate best to stay alive for the time being. The smoke will keep the members of G2, beg your pardon, at bay. And G2, they notice a bit of utility for the ENCE side, but also know it's not going to do much. And okay, Snappy. Okay. All right. They're just waiting for the smokes to dissipate, making sure there's no more flashbangs or any utility remaining for the CTs, and then slowly they can go for the execute, they can creep and crawl their way into the site, but they don't have much utility to do the T's, as Hades and Snappy finds Monacy, and all of a sudden, the nightmare scenario here for G2 might actually transpire.
Perhaps not. Hunter appears to have grabbed his teammates and shook them to wake them up from their slumber. Snappy may be about to close their eyes once again. Nico is playing with fire. Tagged heavily through the wall previously, down to 38 HP. One stray bullet, he'll be a dead man. Look at the audacity. Nico's dodging bullets and deals with Snappy. Counting the bullets in the deagle. He's like, right, 6, 7, I'm good to start spraying now. I'm safe. And that's the kind of mechanics that you're looking for from a player of that stature. Madden's the last player alive. That's not a chance, but it feels like maybe that chance is now come and gone. It's going to be 10-8. However, because of their patience and because they're able to save 4 players, they will have a bye coming up. So a real chance now for ENCE to establish themselves on their CT side.
Good composure there from G2. They slowed things down, and even when they lost a couple of players there, yeah, I think Hades getting a kill, although he did get traded immediately via the Molotov. And I do believe it was Snappy finding the headshot. They didn't panic, right? They slowed things down to 3v3. Nico there, I don't even know how he walks around balls that big, and he just finds Snappy, like you said, waiting for the bullet to run out. As the mid control comes in from both the sides, Hunter able to trade, finds Spinks, but Snappy comes around the corner looking to take duels left, right, and center, and he finds both the cousins. And just like that, 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock, and it's a 4v2 favoring ENCE.
Oh, Jax, though, is going to try and resurrect this round, brick by brick, bullet by bullet. Hades has a 3rd kill.
He didn't seem cross.
I don't think he did, but Monacy may be on the chopping block next. Nice shot from Hades. That's more like it. Now, they need to get this one done cleanly because, again, their economy has not fully stabilized. Honestly, even losing 3 players is going to sting them. But Jax is still in with a shot. There's still plenty of time in this round. The downside is he has no idea as to where the second player is. He knows Hades was last by a donut, and now he's found out in the worst possible way as Madden drills him from the side.
Expensive round there for ENCE, though, and they're aware of it. That could have been very dangerous. That could have been very, very dangerous. Like, if Monacy obviously dying there from by Hades taking him down towards Donut, and the bomb getting dropped, forced Jax to fall on back. But if Monacy's maybe just stayed alive towards the bottom of mid, maybe just held an angle, played it safe, maybe waited towards A, to the entrance of A, for example, and waited for his teammate to just get the flank in from CD spawn, things could have really played out in a whole different manner altogether. But at least for ENCE, they have managed to stem the bleeding, at least for now. Tactical pause getting called by G2 here, as their the journey on the less favored side of this map will continue. Snappy, man, he's just taking matters in his own hands. Just like finds Hunter, spins around, 180 kill into Nico. And then Madden being extremely proactive, not allowing Jax to just basically, you know, run around the map and do whatever he wants. But here we go, round number 20. It is going to be still the buy coming out for the side of ENCE. We have the MP9. G2 though, they have everything to work with. A Mac in the hands of LXCB looking to lead the charges. Spinks and Hades will strike almost simultaneously, finding a couple, but Modesty replies back.
So important. There's a Molotov down onto the donut. They need a smoke there. Finally, they put one into place. Spinks is going to have no more opportunities to slice and dice the G2 now defenders, I should say. But he decides to push past the smoke. And Modesty caught in no man's land. Jax, 16 HP, LXCB still alive, but now it's down to Jax. First frag goes his way, but there will be no follow-up. And ENCE, for the second consecutive round, get it done at the cost of 3 lives.
G2 just trying to go for a fast play towards A, but yeah, I'm not too sure where the first kill came from Spinks, but the fact that Hades is at least able to get a second kill as well. G2 just perennially having a man disadvantage that entire post-plant situation. And yeah, the great flank coming in as well at the very end there from ENCE. They lose a couple of players here, but thankfully for them right now, G2 will be forced to go for just maybe field-graded pistols. But we know, everyone knows, that G2 with pistols sometimes are even more dangerous than they are with the weaponry. So ENCE are going to be definitely giving that respect to Nico and his men. We have 4 players now grouped up together towards A. Looking at utility, they have one smoke in the hands of ELEXCB, which he might try and use for CD spawn Madden, finding Nico. But Iha is having none of this. He's just looking to rattle up bullets through the smoke, catches Monacy. So 2 players already falling for G2 without even being seen by any of the players from ENCE. And with that, whatever game plan they had in mind, it looked like they were just going to be going for that play towards A bomb site, smoke off, you know, towards CD spawn, maybe towards Temple, rush into the bomb site, get a bomb down, maybe try and be mobile with the pistols for the post plant, but has been quickly stymied. And this is a very aggressive positioning coming out here from ENCE.
Oh, they're about to walk into the killing field.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be messy. Madden's also playing anti-flash. So as soon as Snappy spots the first player, spams across, does get dinked with the first bullet, which is pretty nuts. Not really required to play anti-flash any longer as they both come out. Smoke is in place, but it's too little too late. Just a deagle in play on Alexi. And the Finn against the world. Doesn't even get one. ENCE regained the lead. There will be a buy coming up, but more importantly, they regained the lead with 5 players alive. They're now starting to churn out the economy. They're going to be able to get consistent AWPs in play for Hades. And to be fair, he had a very lackluster first half. We've already seen some impact from here on the CT side.
Absolutely. For G2, when it came to that first half, credit where it's due. I think great adaptation from ELEXCB, just asphyxiating the ENCE T side, not really giving them much room to work with, which is what allowed them to get 7 rounds on back-to-back. And then now, they win the pistol, they've done everything. This is where we need to see more coming out from this T side, right? That is something the desk alluded to as well, that G2 really have much. Just Snappy, the flashbang was great, but somehow Alexi being able to get the kill, and Nico finding Madden as well. Everyone's blinded, they're shooting through smokes, but somehow G2 come out on top. Is it 4 versus 3? And a very, very interesting flurry of frags all the way outside the B bomb site.
Nico getting a bit of revenge. Last round, it was Madden putting bullets into the smoke and taking him down. Now he's returned the favor. And as you highlighted, G2 with the player advantage, looking to try and push it in and secure the round. But Diha just slightly moves off the angle. That skews with Nico's positioning. And in doing so, now he's even the odds. ENCE have a lot of map control in terms of middle. And they have a bit of utility, but no smokes to play with as of yet. Now they've just picked one up on Hunter, and it looks like they have their eyes set on B site.
It's a risky hold coming out from ENCE. If we look at Hades' position, he's in donut looking towards B. They have A completely open as Hunter will indeed completely open up A. Diha will meet his maker. A bit of a flub smoke there, but it's okay. Still player advantage for the side of G2 as they're going to be making their way on towards the B bomb side. Rotation is taking place in the form of Hades with an AWP, but Spinks has so much to do right now.
There's a gap in the smoke. That's a freebie kill, and with 18 seconds left, he could maybe even get another one. I don't think he wanted to overextend in that engagement, but takes down everybody! The smallest gaps in the smoke costs G2 so much!
I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that happened, Vince. Like, they threw the smoke into the Molotov, so the smoke hadn't fully bloomed in where they wanted it to, but they should be cognizant of the fact that there can be a gap over there. And even the moment the bomb gets planted, the second player, once you plant the bomb, you know where Spinks was. You know there's a gap in the smoke. And Hunter, I don't think he was even looking his direction, but, I mean, credit where it's due. Huge, massive round from Spinks. But for G2, to just, like, lose a 3 versus 2 situation just because of a gap, a massive gap in the smoke, that's going to come and bite them, Vince. Because this was a close game. It was 11-10. That was a golden opportunity for them to tie things up. But because of that, they're now down to the pistols, and for ENCE, they have a 2-round lead.
Extending the lead once more. Keep in mind, they started this game off in such terrifying fashion. At one stage, they were leading 6-1. They extended that to 7-1. And then we saw G2 come back. Madden, it's a shooting gallery. And he capitalizes with 2, but Jax with the deagle has bagged himself 2 of his own. That being said, though, he has been put in his grave. Hunter with it all to do. First frag fairly cleanly. Still 71 hit points in play, but he's got Hades and Spinks to contend with. Still alive, jumping down, but he's running into the arms of Spinks. How he is still alive, I have no idea. But Spinks makes sure he gets him on the second time of asking.
Hunter moving around ancient like Tarzan, just running around. Somehow, if he was able to get that kill on the Spinks, that would have been ludicrous, but ENCE will manage to keep the Hunter at bay. 13-10, Vince, slowly but surely. The inexorable march of ENCE, it continues. 5 back-to-back-to-back. They are on fire right now. Again, fully utility being deployed, and G2 are using a lot of utility here, trying to keep ENCE at bay. You can see the muzzle being used as Nappy just comes running out like a lunatic as Hunter will punish him for it. What was that? I think the flash missed.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can assume, because he was pushing out whatever happened there. Spinks, though, does get a successful flashbang out, and Alexi gets spilled out on middle. Hunter just keeping eyes in the back of his head, although he does have some support from Nico, who finds himself at 35 HP. This Jaguar area has been hotly contested, as it so often is on Ancient, the entire map through. And typically, whoever's won these fights has won the round. Madden, still healthy, still holding the close angle. There are mollies, flashes, and smokes available to G2 should they choose. We have to douse off the flames of ENCE right now as they are burning bright on their CT side. And Spinks comes down. The timing could not have been sweeter. He's getting so much information from this. Takes the kill on Hunter and pieces out.
Oh, no way, Madden. He catches the bomb! Monacy falls, 35 seconds, Jax and Nico so very low as well. At least they've deployed the smoke to pick up the C4, but the jig is up. ENCE know exactly where G2 are, and G2 might have to call it a day for this particular round, Vince. That AWP is very, very expensive of an investment. And with that, ENCE 14-10, slowly but surely, like an anaconda constricting around its victim. ENCE, it looked like G2 were putting up a fight, and honestly, yeah, like we said, the latter part of the first half, great resurgence from them, great adaptation coming out from LXCB and his men, win the pistol, survive the 4 spies, but after that, a buy rounds, it's been ENCE all the way. Sure, some of them were close, it did come down to the individual heroics from, you know, maybe Spinks, for example, but a majority of the rounds have been ENCE just looking very, very comfortable, looking quite unchallenged. And again, it's fitting perfectly into the narrative that the desk painted earlier, where they said, you know, G2 need to win Dust 2 because Ancient is pretty much ENCE 99%, and they are showing why here, Vince. 27 kills with Spinks, man.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal throughout the entire game. Very late buy as well on G2. Seemed like they were scraping together a buy right at the depth. Nico, so aggressive, already up at a 4 position on ramp. Flash is good. But I don't know if they realize he's already up here. Spinks is making moves down on construction side as well. He's been bested. He's got the meanwhile gets an entry. Monacy, 2 quick fire frags. And that should be B site, locked down. And surely this is where those flames are extinguished. G2 should be picking up their first round in 6. And to make matters worse as well on the side of ENCE, if they were hoping to save these weapons, there's 2 players very close in the form of Hunter and Jax that may be on the prowl. What a shot from Hades that is. That is lightning fast reaction speed. And so Hunter should tread lightly. This round is done though, Black. That much we already know. G2 with an aggressive push-up ramp have made it work.
They did. And again, coming down to the heroics of Nico and m0NESY, right? Nico getting the first one, sorry, the second kill, but m0NESY opening things up with the AWP. And the second kill for m0NESY, I'm sure we're going to be seeing the replay. That was, again, just filthy stuff coming out from the youngster. 14-11, G2, can he string a few together here? Can they ensure that ENCE have to battle, bite, and claw their way to a victory? Or are they going to stumble once more after a little bit of a resurgence as m0NESY? Dude, that's in slow-mo! That's in slow-mo! It's ridiculous!
Those zoomer reaction speeds, Blair will never fully understand.
I was a zoomer once as well, Vince, but I was nowhere as close as some of these guys.
I mean, I was that fast. I just never hit my targets, you know?
Yeah, he's fast and hits stuff. Simple game, this Counter-Strike, you know? Be fast, hit your shots.
Just click head, forehead.
Click heads,
Yep.
easy. A little bit of a attack timeout getting called by ENCE. They are ensuring they use all the opportunities they have to speak to their the coach, talk things through. They don't want to allow G2 back in this, because that's the thing with G2, right? They're not a complexity, but they can be a juggernaut. They can be a team who, once things get rolling, as I saw in Dust 2, for example, once the individuals start really feeling it, it's almost... It defies logic as to how they will just wrest open a bomb site from your hands, and it's insane how good they can be individually, and even as a team, like a well-oiled machine, as it is going to be a fast hit coming in towards A for Nico, just looking to find an opening there, helped out by a couple of flashes from his teammates. But if you look at the rest of the Hunter and Jax slowly sneaking their way in towards A, as Nico and Alexi B, they strike in tandem. Bear in mind, this is ENCE with a full buy of their own, and already it's a 5v3 favoring the side of G2.
Almost an identical start for Nico as well. He had the same spawn, he went to the same position on ramp, and had the same result. This time it wasn't m0NESY landing crazy flicks, it was just solid Counter-Strike. Alexi could count himself lucky that he's still alive. But as you nailed there, this was a full purchase. That wasn't some kind of an eco bash. That was ENCE at their strongest, and they still fell prey almost the exact same way. I wonder if we will see a couple of tweaks, a couple of changes to how they look to try and lock down ramp. This round isn't done just yet though, Blair. However, Snappy losing his life definitely makes it more likely. Both the remaining CTs though do find themselves over on the A side of the map, one of which is Madden, but he has been crumbled. And now Hades with a chance to become a hero in Donut. Position is not been checked just yet. No, he rushes the shot. Alexi.
Hello?
Hello? Okay.
They were so sure that he could not possibly be inside of the donut that... Like, Alexi, even though he kind of heard the op shot, he was like, nah, there's no way he's there. But nonetheless, G2, that's a huge round, Vince. They lose just to one player, and with that, ENCE's economy, I'm just quickly taking a look here. Yeah, the money is in a very rough spot. They will be able to give an off in the hands of Hades. There we go, all right. And while the remainder of the members will just be sticking around with a few pistols, trying to equalize the money out a little bit, so they will have enough to eke out a full-fledged buy later on. Right now, Hades, a little bit of a cheeky boost over there, trying to find something. But G2, we asked if they could somehow string a couple of rounds together, have a little bit more resurgence here on this T side, and they're showing it. 2 rounds back-to-back, and if they're able to somehow survive the scare from this kind of like a hero AWP in the hands of Hades, suddenly it's 14-13, Vince, and that's when things get a little bit more spicy, and I like spicy.
I don't, but in Counter-Strike terms, yes.
I like all spicy, Vince.
Yeah, not a big fan of food, but that being said, G2 may very well fall on their sword because they're trying to hit B again. There are multiple adversaries that they have to try and navigate across, but they've all been submerged by smoke and flame. Now, liquid fire of the Molotov has now come to a close, and the smokes are about to deplete as well. This is where all hell is about to break loose, and Snappy is throwing himself through the gates with the P250, still alive, joined alongside Spinks, and now it's only on Spinks, but Hunter with the flank has put them down where they stand, and that heroic last stand for ENCE doesn't last for too much longer.
Yeah. Wasn't too much of danger anyway once Nico gets his first early couple of kills, but then, yeah, Hunter coming in with the flank with the final death blow. 3 now, back-to-back for G2, and this is off ENCE winning 6 rounds of their own, 6 rifle rounds of their own on the CD side, and finally it looks like it's kind of come to a crumbling halt. The final tactical timeout getting called by ENCE right now, Vince. They have used up everything to talk things through, because you got to remember, for those of you probably tuning in right now, G2 lead the series 1-0. They won dust through the mapping in a very, very, very convincing fashion. And for ENCE heading to Ancient, everyone, the analysts, myself included, Vince, yourself as well, we all agreed that this is ENCE's playground, a map that is supremely comfortable on, one of the best in the world, and G2 right now are making them sweat. The buy is going to be coming out for ENCE nonetheless, but it is a round they're desperately looking to win to close this one out.
This time, though, they didn't get any great spawns to push up ramp quickly, so they're making an alteration themselves. Molly did not stop D-Ha, but bullets will, and Nico sends a barrage of them to the forehead. And the Polish contingent has been momentarily capsized. Spinks tries to thread some shots up on construction, where Nico has taken significant damage again. But G2 maintain their player advantage, albeit with a couple players very close to death.
Sweet. That's the thing with the A1, you really can't see the tracers, but Jax in the meantime finding Madden. Again, one by one, they are falling on the defenders of ENCE. 2 players on his B bomb site, leaving the A bomb site in the hands of Hades, and honestly, this time his flick will not land. Snappy has been spotted, however, and again, G2 to slow things down. Hunter sneaking in towards the A bomb site. This has been a hole in the defense of ENCE multiple times, which hasn't quite been exploited as m0NESY finds Hades. 5 versus 2. Hunter's gonna be walking in towards the A bomb site as well. He's all the way towards CD spawn. G2 can go wherever the hell they want, but if Spinks steps up right now, that's when something could go wrong, and Spinks, he hears the footsteps.
He snatches at the frag. He had to. Alexi was still checking the angles. 15 seconds to play with Flash out. Spinks needs to go huge here, but Snappy's been caught, and now Spinks isn't so sure. He wanted to peek out on the long angle, can't do it. Spinks has 4 seconds to try and defend the bomb, but the Molotov stops him. It was so tantalizingly close, and he's about to get pinched in from the side because Nico is laid there and wait, doesn't have to push in. The bomb should do all of the work for G2. Nice effort from Spinks, but we are tied up at 14 apiece.
G2 look laser focused, Vince. They did it in the first half, but that was a CD side. You know, it's a more favored side of the most CD-sided map in Counter-Strike Global Offensive right now, and they're doing it again. They're doing it again on the T side, which no one expected. And listen, I'm waiting to see Maui and Pimp break this one down, because this has been an incredible string of rounds, a sequence of rounds coming out from G2. Not just individually speaking, but just able to kind of like toy with the rotations. They're making ENCE make mistakes. They're punishing ENCE for the aggressive plays. They're forcing ENCE to kind of feel uncomfortable and go for these sort of like, you know, fact-finding plays. And Nico finding D-Ha there through his teammate. Madden getting caught off guard out in the open. And then when you have m0NESY so hyper-aware and hitting shots like that, things are looking very interesting indeed. 14-14.
That's an eco or a half buy as well.
They're going to play for OT. ENCE have to play for OT right now.
Ooh, that is brave. That is brave. And by the way, that shot from m0NESY, grand scheme of things, maybe his best today that he's connected, and taken into account all the shots he connected on Dust 2. It was so rapid, such an integral moment in this best of 3. And remember, the winner of this best of 3 moves on to the legend stage. Jax takes off the head of D-Ha, and Cave has now crumbled. Spinks with the deagle, gets spotted, traded out 1 for 1. They need Hades now to light up the scoreboard with this deagle, but instead, he's been put down with authority. And now Snappy and Madden have a tumultuous task ahead of them. And I'm not doubting their skill level, but I think this one is not one they're going to pass. Jax also taking the initiative. Spray is good onto Madden. Takes the head of Snappy, finishes him off with the Glock. And G2, not only do they get on fire, but additionally, they have a match, a qualification point.
max loss bonus coming in for ENCE as we do enter the final round of regulation here. And they have everything they need. They have all the rifles. Hades will opt to go for the M4A1. I'm not too sure if he even had money to go for the AWP here. So they have everything, Vince. They have the 5 rifles, they have 5 incendiaries, 5 smokes, a ton of flashbangs, and G2 will use their own tactical pause right now. They know they have ENCE on the ropes. They know they just need that one more round. They don't want to take this to OT, where it just resets from then on. It completely resets, and you're going to be having ENCE starting on the CT side again. They're going to have a clean 3-0 start, and then G2 are going to be up against the wall once more. So G2, this is the golden opportunity to close it out 2-0. Finish this one off. Qualify. So much on the line, but I have to say, I have been impressed with the G2 side.
As have I. This Ancient performance has gone above and beyond expectations. Some great performances. Spinks has hit a 30 bomb. Hunter and Nico are close, and Nico comes out second best. This is better from ENCE. They take down 2 kills, but m0NESY does bounce back with one of his own, giving G2 a lifeline to finish this game off right here, right now.
The danger man, though, Nico, who's on 25 kills and he's been taken down, but don't forget his cousin, Hunter. 25 of his own as well. And he's very, very much alive. Grouped up right now with Jax, and Jax spots a player out towards Red Room. That is, of course, Diha. But he will re-peek out and catches Jax, climbing over the boxes, and now ENCE just 2 frags away from taking us to overtime. m0NESY is still alive. He's got an AWP, wielding his trusty magic stick. And Hunter as well, right now top fragging in the server alongside his cousin. He knows where Spinks likes to play. Sorry, Snappy likes to play. And right now, you can see the push coming out towards A-Halls as well. You can see Hades dug in deep. They know the hit should be coming in towards B, but these openings, Hunter and m0NESY, they need them.
These 2 Predators looking to hunt in a pack. m0NESY joined alongside one of their star players. 30 seconds. Molly, smoke in position. Flash is checking their angles, making sure they're not going to get caught from an angle. That Molotov will afford safe passage with the bomb plant, but Hunter gets caught in the back, and now m0NESY has got to pull off a huge play, but Spinks shuts him down, and it's OT.
ENCE, man, they battled it out. They finally get it done. G2. The 5-round streak, it finally comes to an end. And honestly, I won't lie, for a moment there, I felt G2 were just going to run away with it. They were building up, they were starting to snowball into an avalanche and going to bury ENCE, but ENCE somehow, in the final dying embers of regulation, able to stave off defeat on their map pick. And now we head into OT, and when you head into OT, Vince, it's not just a reset of the rounds or the halves or the economy, it's also a mental reset. The pressure that ENCE were under those final few rounds, now it's kind of abated a little bit. Now they have the opportunity to grind this one back and close it out, because they are going to be starting on the more favored side. On the CD side, they have all the money, all the weaponry, all the arsenal they need to work with. But for G2, can they replicate the magic?
That is the question. About to find out the answers too as we get into this first round. Hot and heavy, m0NESY, aggression up ramp, but there's a grenade there to greet him. As a parting gift tossed in, but he is undeterred. Still connects the shot onto Hades and just walks out. Just chill and moonwalk back onto construction, where 2 players are waiting in Jaguar and Cave. We've seen most of these excursions go in favor of G2 because of some aggressive peaks. Spinks goes in for another one. So much damage through the smoke, and some turned back in towards the ENCE players. But Snappy peeks out through the Molotov and gets the better of Nico. He's still lurking around in the shadows as well. The audacity of the man to still be in this position for so long in the round. Is he about to peek in with a flash? He does it! A double spray! Snappy takes this round, snatches it away from G2.
That is played to perfection. We've seen him try it multiple times in regulation, but meantime, Hunter finds Spinks. And all of a sudden, from a 4v2 to a 3v2 where Snappy is, he's just a walking wounded. There is still a chance. Time, though, not really G2's friend at the moment. 37 seconds remain. You can see the bomb dropped All the way in a T-spot. Jax finds his kill. It's going to be huge, and Madden will deal with him. It's all on Hunter. 1 versus 3, and he's making a bit of noise. Snappy, very aware as to where the play is going to be coming in from. Hunter might actually get the bomb down here. No, he won't. Madden shuts him down. ENCE, the win around.
They regain the lead again, Blair. This roller coaster of emotions. I'm sure many people watching right now have one of these two teams as their 3-0 in the pick'ems. A lot of people on the edges of their seats. We certainly are. It's been a great game here on Ancient thus far. And there's going to be more rounds to come. ENCE with the advantage. Smoking early down onto ramp, which has been a consistent area, a consistent hotbed that G2 have tried their best to take control over. Well-placed Molotovs, also isolating the bulk of the T's on the opposite side of the door. Alexi's effectively alone at this stage. The flash is good though, and Madden was totally stranded.
I love that flash. That's perfection. Madden not expecting them to just run out through the smoke. And m0NESY, not only is he precise with his shots, but he is very precise with his flashbangs as well. They know where Hades likes to play from towards Donut. Hunter aware that DH likes to take this duel from Redbox, both the avenues being smoked off. Actually, DH smoking himself off there, allowing himself a little bit of room to breathe with it as he falls back, playing a little bit more passively, but they've lost so much of real estate here, Vince. No eyes inside of Donut, no eyes with the red room, but Spinks. Oh, he lines them up through the smoke! Alexi B and Jax will fall, and Spinks, he needs no vision. He can do it all by his lonesome, as Lurk coming in from Donut doesn't matter. Hades and Snappy will deal with both Hunter and NiKo, leaving m0NESY, young m0NESY, in a 1 versus 4, and that, in my honest opinion, Vince, it looks very unlikely.
40 seconds to play with the only thing working, but time will begin to betray him. He needs a pick early. The issue is he has pretty much no idea where these CTs are currently hiding. He's got the right idea, once to the back of B site, another around Cave Jaguar area, but he's about to walk out into the open, and Spinks has him dead to rights. ENCE 17-15 in the lead, but that round was looking like it was slipping away before the man on your screen just nailed them through the smoke.
I don't even know how Spinks gets those kills. Like, just lines them up, perfectly reading the pathing coming up from the two members of G2. And I think the G2 did a great job initially, just, burst out through the double doors. The smoke was keeping them at bay. Great flash of m0NESY there initially to allowing NiKo to get that opening kill. But nonetheless, 17-15 for ENCE. And what I feared for G2, Vince, it's ENCE having a flawless CD side. It is starting to transpire. We still have one more round remaining here in the first half of OT number 1. A bit of a jump there from Madden. That looked scary. And again, if you look at the money, if you look at the buy, it's not great. You lose 2 rounds back-to-back. You're stuck with pistols and a couple of AK-47s as Madden is going to find NiKo, and he will be chopped down at ramp.
Concerning aspect for ENCE here is, G2 I should say, is everything that G2 were getting success from before with NiKo's pushes up ramp, with having ramp control early on, has now been found and fixed by ENCE. There appears to just be roadblocks everywhere. There's nowhere they can move, there's nowhere they can run without ENCE being there, waiting for them, anticipating that play. Finally, it seems we're catching what ENCE are truly capable of on Ancient. Better late than never. Molly down. Hunter will deal with Snappy before he can retreat. So at least it's down to a 3-on-4. And all 3 players on G2 still in with a shot to maybe turn this around, snatch it out of the jaws of defeat. It feels like if this goes 3-0 OT, that might be too far gone. However, Alexi now able to put the smoke down, cordon off some of these areas, and focus their attention and their fire onto the site. DH gives his position away. They cannot deny this bomb plant. There's no gap in the smoke this time to exploit from ENCE. So it's going to be going down, and so will DH. m0NESY through the smoke, connects, vanquishes him from the site. And now Hades, alongside Spinks, is going to try and sneak their way, crawl their way onto the site. Spinks, last man standing, last round of OT. He's going for this, and if he's going to get any success, he's got to pick up the pace here. The bomb is ticking away. That fuse is getting dangerously close to exploding. First kill won't go his way, and G2 makes sure, bare minimum, it's not a clean sweep in this first OT half.
There was a 2-man disadvantage early on there for G2, but somehow great coordination, just simple grouping up up together. They read those angles being held by the players of ENCE. You saw, I do believe it was Madden playing inside of Jaguar. They knew exactly what was going to be playing. Alexi with some huge kills coming out as well. Great composure, again, from G2, despite being in a disadvantageous situation, and they give themselves a lifeline. They at least give themselves something, a little bit of a cushion to work with. As now, they will be heading towards the CD side. Here's a question, though, from me, Vince. Like, which CD side are we going to be seeing from G2? Are we going to be seeing the first early rounds where they were floundering, they were looking lost? Or are they going to continue what they did later on, where they were just basically constricting the entire map and not giving any space for ENCE to breathe?
Excellent questions, Blair. We're about to find out the answer now. Very quick turnaround. G2 on their CT side. Odyssey needs to get that smoke down, but he's taking so much damage through that smoke. 2 HP left, still alive, but not for much longer. And Spinks doesn't get the second kill, but significant damage to Hunter, and will force him away from red.
The bloodlust getting a little bit too much of Spinks. He gets a huge kill on the Odyssey, and then a little overeager there. Hoping to catch someone off guard, but Hunter, even though he does get tagged to 40 HP, never mind, he's been tagged down to 0 HP. Diha will decapitate him. And ENCE, man advantage, 4v3 as they start prowling around this Jaguar lane area, slowly congregating on towards the B bomb site, where Alexi B and Nico lie in wait, looking to hold the line, looking to tie up the scoreline.
Hades, the fastest of flicks. That's such an integral moment in this game. Alexi B still alive, but not for much longer. And Jack's off on A site.
Yeah, it's a save.
Has to save, yep. The money situation is still grim. Even on OT, the CTs will struggle. And therefore, ENCE will have 2 map points on Ancient and a chance to take us to the decider of Mirage. Doesn't seem like they're going to run Jax down, so he should be given some choices as to where he wants to try and piece out of here. There could be an AK actually dropped over on that body he can see at the T side of mid. That would be a nice addition, just whether he wants to risk it or not. But this round is done. And this game continues to deliver, Blair. We thought coming into this, we're in for a real interesting affair. The first map had its moments, was fairly one-sided. This has been neck and neck throughout. I think Jax is going to survive. Just about.
I think he was looking to pick up the AWP at the very last second.
Yeah.
But unfortunately not quite able to retrieve it for Monacy. But yeah, like as we said, we were expecting ENCE to win this game. We were expecting them to win this particular map of Ancient. But G2, they really made them sweat, Vince. And for G2, they're going to be kicking themselves, you know, a couple of rounds here and there if they were able to convert them. But honestly, it's been a fantastic showing from Nico and his men. But ENCE in overtime, this seems to be like a reinvigorated animal, looking very, very clean indeed. Sure, they lost 1 round there on the CD side, but able to finish the first opening round here. 18-16 map point right now for the Finnish org. And 2 opportunities now for ENCE to close this one out and take us to Mirage. We will find the decide. We will find which team is going to be moving on ahead. Madden, he's going to get a free kill. Alexi being completely unaware as the possibility of Madden being nearby on the right-hand side. So G2 early on losing their IGL. And that means for ENCE, 4 more frags to find.
Which is kind of crazy considering the position of his teammates. It's one thing if they had mid control and he gets caught like that. They didn't have eyes on mid. Hunter was kind of bobbing and throwing, but didn't really have full vision over this area. Such an odd decision at an integral moment in this game. And ENCE already in a good position to just outright win this map now in OT. Have been given a golden gift. And will they run with it? Nico gets tanked by the smoke. Still skews his vision though. Going to be hiding in there. Maybe waiting for a flash from one of his teammates. Or for someone else to arrive. But instead it's ENCE. And that pain train comes hurtling down the tracks onto the site again. And it's looking good for an ENCE second map victory. Hunter is going to get caught in the side, and ENCE take us to a third. Mirage beckons.
Oh boy, ENCE were made of sweat, Vince. Like, first map, Dust 2, it feels like a lifetime ago. It was such an easy win coming up for G2, but ENCE, they were made of sweat. I can see Spinks as well, a little bit of a shake of his head saying, yeah, that was unnecessarily close. But credit where it's due for G2. I felt like that was a very, very Great showing. I think Alexi B had some really good calls coming out from him. Like, he was able to adapt quite efficiently. That second half especially impressed me so much. It looked like ENCE were running away with it, but a flurry of rounds coming out from the T side of ENCE, and overall great showing. But ENCE were able to find and close it out. And once it hit to OT, it looked like they kind of mentally reset themselves, and ENCE just kind of closed it out in the end in a bit of a convincing fashion.
Indeed. Well, you've heard our thoughts. It's time to head over to Freya and the boys to break down that second map.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, it was a map that went the whole 9 yards going into overtime at that, where ENCE are able to close things out. Despite G2 making it tantalizingly close in regulation, almost sealing the deal there. Maybe kind of impressive from G2 coming into this map. You know, we weren't too sure what to expect. Unfortunate, they weren't able to close it out. But some flares, I hope that they are getting better on this map.
I'd say that their T side was something to be hopeful about for G2, but I still saw too many flaws on the defense there. I think that Ancient, the way that everybody still wins this map is having a formidable, almost impenetrable defense. And for G2 in this one, they just started too far behind. If they had that sort of T side with anything remotely resembling what we were expecting from a Tier 1 team on the CT side, they had that in the bag, Pimp.
I agree. You know, I was very surprised by the T side. I was very surprised by the fact that G2 were able to fight their way back into the game, and at some point, you know, they're 1 round away from winning this series 2-0. That in itself is a bit of a statement that the Ancient isn't, you know, it's not as bad as we make it, but I agree with what you're saying right here. You cannot expect G2 to pull off such a strong T side against some of the best teams in the world, and as we saw on their CT side, I saw a lot of the same problems I saw against Astralis as well. It feels like to me that, as you said, Mari, a good CT side on the Ancient, it comes from good synergy, it comes from always fighting together, especially on a B-bomb side, right? You always stick together, You're always fighting together, but there were so many rounds where it was down to each individual of G2 in order to win their duels, in order to win the round, and I still lack a little bit of team play on that CT side before I fully buy into G2 being a good Ancient team.
I want to shift our attention to some of the numbers we see on our screen, mainly from Mr. Spinks going back to round number 4. He had 12 kills by that point, just didn't seem to stop coming into this round of Ancient.
Spinks was a monster in this one. There's so many moments where Spinks is able to just find the sliver, the crack in whatever it is that G2 are doing, and then he pries it open. He does such a great job at recognizing in the moment what is the most vulnerable point for G2, and that's when he strikes. I think he is shown at this point that he is one of the best riflers out there in the world, this year at least. It's just that he has to do this consistently, but this was a brilliant sign from him, because it's not even just that he's letting the action come to him. He knows how to take advantage of the worst parts of what G2 is doing.
I fully agree. I think he's slowly but surely establishing himself as one of the best riflers in the world, and especially on a map like Ancient. I think right now, if you dissect the stats and if you look specifically into Ancient, he must be, and I think he is, the best Ancient player in the entire world as of right now.
Wow.
You can obviously argue, you know, Simple is up there, Config from Astralis as well, very good on this map, but every single time Spinks play this map, he just feels super, super comfortable. He's averaging a rating that is above 1.3 every single time he's playing Ancient, and as you see right here, it's close games. It's not like 16-5, 16-4 victories. He really gets the job done. Super, super impressed by Spinks.
It does feel like the guy that plays middle for a lot of these teams is usually the focal point of what's going on the offense, and I think that's exactly what we got from Spinks here on the T side for ENCE. The guy is so effective at least finding an opening kill, and even if he goes 1-for-1, he was finding sometimes Monacy at mid, Hunter at mid, sometimes Jax. I mean, those kind of kills are invaluable when you have an in-game leader like Snappy, or even a secondary caller like Modern, who can put the pieces together, because once you get a 4-on-4, everything opens up so much more on Ancient. It's so hard to play that map in a 5v5.
And this was extra impressive coming out of Spinks, considering some of the numbers we put under the spotlight coming into this series, Jacob, particularly looking at his ratings against top 10 teams. We're kind of looking at him to build that more consistent factor and become like a Hunter, become like a Nico against those top tier oppositions.
It's a bit of a statement for Spinks to do this well against this type of team with, as you said, Nico, Monacy, Hunter for that matter as well. There's so many great individuals, and he shined them, right? He overshined them here on Ancient. He was by far the most impactful player on the server. The mental resilience as well. He had a poor first map coming into Ancient, doesn't seem affected whatsoever, and as said, MVP of this map. Goes for the entire team of ENCE though, right? The first map wasn't looking too good for them. They come in right here and they play well on Ancient. Again, another point you can make as well, the opening duels going 23-12 in favor of G2, yet it still felt like ENCE were the dominating team right here. So despite G2 finding the majority of the openings, ENCE had a great plan of how to fight back, how to trade their way out of the problems, and still somewhat control the game despite losing the majority of the opening duels.
Yeah, something I actually haven't always loved about ENCE is how they play their mid-rounds out, but they were able to win 3v5s, 4v5s in this game with regularity, and that's something that probably, I think, actually speaks a little bit more about G2.
Yeah.
I actually think that the way that they're trying to convert rounds later makes me a little bit more concerned. And I think we have a round that we could show here where I really think that G2 just has a few fundamental misunderstandings about how they want to play the defense here of Ancient.
Yeah, it was on the CT side, right? Because that was something you had questions about after we saw the map play out.
Yes, exactly. So this is a round early on in the first half, or it's kind of late in the first half, I guess. But either way, there's just pistols from ENCE. It's kind of a half buy, and we see that G2 use some early utility to take some control, but they don't play crossfires. They play a lot of individual spots. There's a lane swing from one of the first players that dies. The other players are playing sort of close to the smoke, and these are a lot of 50-50 sort of fights that you don't necessarily want to play. One of the reasons Ancient is so CT-sided is you can just play back in the bomb sites. You can set up these indomitable crossfires, and you're pretty much always going to shut down any sort of push. And so G2 probably being a little bit proactive at times, taking a few too many risks, and just simply like Pimp has been putting this whole time, they're not playing together when they're playing the defense.
I'm so happy you brought up this clip because you see it right there. Neeko pushing down lane by himself, getting killed off guard, and then another guy on the side by himself fighting. He gets 2 kills, sure, well done, but you're not supposed to play like that. If you take the fight together, in the vast majority of the situations, you will come out on top. And that's what you see from ENCE, that's what you see from Big, that's what you see from Na'Vi. All the top teams on this map, they play cohesive and they play together on the CT side.
And this brings into question the map pool discussion that we were having about G2 prior to coming into Ancient. Sure, maybe they impressed with, how long they drew this map out, some of the instances they showed on this particular map, but it's not great signs when you're going up against other teams, like you mentioned, that like are going to be in the Legends stage.
I mean, I can't help myself to think about G2 as a team who's going to qualify for the next stage, whether or not they're going to win this game. Obviously, we're going to focus on the third map in a couple of moments, but if you put on the long side right here, G2, without being able to play Ancient, that's a bit of a problem. They permaban Overpass 24/7, so fair enough for that, but there's a lot of teams out there who's willing to pick Ancient. Na'Vi, ENCE, Furia, FaZe, Astralis, Big,
NIP,
NIP for that matter. There's so many teams who will just pick into Ancient time and time again against G2, and for the vast majority of the time, if they play at the level we saw right here, they can make the games competitive, but I am pretty sure they will lose to good Ancient teams the vast majority of the time, and that's a problem in a video, right? You go in and you're basically down 1-0 in every single matchup.
Yeah, you can't actually expect to win a tournament if you're playing behind, like Pimp is saying. I mean, the thing is that even teams that are ranked worse than G2 are taking this map off of them consistently. It does feel like this is something they need to patch up, and it's something that needed to happen probably before the Challenger stage because it is a glaring weakness in their overall game plan going into future series.
Well, we go the full distance in this best-of-3 qualification series. Mirage on the cards as our third and final decider map to see who goes through to Legends today. We're going to be diving into it after this short break.
Now that's what we call major. 14 days of high-octane action. 14 days of fierce battles. 14 days of special bonuses from GG Bet. Whoop, cheer, and make your fortune.
all comes down to Mirage to decide who will flawlessly make it through to the Legends stage today. Will it be G2? Will it be ENCE coming into this final round? Before we do find out who will be taking this one, how are we kind of framing both of these sides coming into this decider map?
I think it's going to be tough for both teams to claim to be the better Mirage team. I think it's night and day right now for both of these lineups. ENCE are having a hard time winning 2 Mirage games in a row. They win one, then they lose one. They win one, then they lose one. They win one, they lose one. You can keep going down the list. It's like that all the time. Whereas for G2, they've actually lost 4 times in a row, but a lot of those games have been close, you know, quadruple overtime, a 16-7 loss without LXB during Pro League as well. So for G2 right now, and for ENCE for that matter, I don't think either of them are like super comfortable on Mirage.
They're definitely not that comfortable as units, but I think that there's a lot of players in the server, if we looked at the individuals, that should be popping off the page here. On ENCE, you obviously have Spinks, and he's been just delivering an incredible, I mean, Ancient at least, not the first map, but on the side of G2, it's hard to not look at these names and just simply think, how could they lose? You have Monacy, NiKo, and Hunter, and they're just one of the most deadliest trifectas on the defense towards middle. But there are some holes in their game, too. I think that's where a lot of people have been calling AlexiB into question, because sometimes the way that their T-sides go is not the prettiest on Mirage, and it's been a reason that they've been having some failures on.
I like that you bring up the disparity in terms of ENCE's results on this very map. I just want to throw it back to a mere week ago at the Blast Spring Showdown. Obviously, we saw ENCE managing to claim that spot. They did reverse sweep Astralis in that grand final, but that was a 16-3 loss versus Astralis. Quite uncharacteristic, and then we come into that matchup against 9Z. That's a 16-7 win. So why do you feel like we get such disparate results from ENCE on this particular ground?
Isn't that just the nature of Mirage right now? Like, who out there would you say is a consistent top team on Mirage? Who wins Mirage every single time they play the map? I don't really locate one team where I feel like that's the case, right? You had a period where Na'Vi was super well playing on Mirage. You had a period where Heroic could do it, but there's no team right now who's just claiming Mirage as the best map in their map pool. So I feel it is kind of like one of those maps where we'll talk about momentum. We'll talk about a snowball rolling out, you know. Another thing you can point towards when it comes to ENCE and the Mirage is actually Dyha, who's the highest rated player for ENCE, right? A player we don't really talk a lot about, but on Mirage, he is super aggressive, especially CT side, especially towards middle as well. So I'm curious to see who's going to play well and who's not going to do so well for ENCE here.
I think that something that's really strange about ENCE is the style that they call is unlike a lot of the teams that are at the top right now for this, where essentially what Snappy does on this map is he calls based off of the spawns nearly every single round. So for one, that just means that it's a little bit random. So teams aren't always going to be able to read what they're going to do round to round because it's just based off the spawn. It's not even based off what Snappy's really thinking at the moment. And the other thing is that because they're playing off of spawn so much, players are switching spots on the T side frequently. There's sometimes Deha lurking towards A, sometimes it's Modern, sometimes it's Spinks towards Palace. It changes up very frequently, and I think that surprisingly, I mean, this is something that Saw and Snappy told me, that Deha is the most mechanically skilled player on ENCE. And so on a map like Mirage, when you're just being thrown into different situations constantly, it does make sense that he's going to thrive because he's just so gifted in terms of his individual skill that no matter what, he can make it work.
And it was an interesting point you bring up there just about Snappy's kind of calling style coming into this, because you don't necessarily see that working super well against G2.
I think that G2 is simply a team that once they know what the strategy is, they'll just eat it up. Hunter, NiKo, AlexiB, 3 brilliant minds in CS that if they did their homework, if they anti-stratted properly, they will be able to read what is going on with what ENCE is doing. There are a couple of I'd say tells in sort of the strategies that Snappy likes to throw out on this map. And if they can catch that early enough in the round, it doesn't seem like ENCE always has the best mid-round. So if the initial plan doesn't work or if it gets red, I think that G2 is going to have a dominant CT side.
There's one thing that worries me a lot when it comes to G2 though, and that is NiKo, right? Because we are not soon to always praise him. We always talk about how good he is, especially when it comes to Mirage. You know, you go down the history. In Mouse, he was fantastic on the map. In FaZe, he was fantastic on the map. In the beginning of G2 as well, he was fantastic on the map. He's played it 9 times in the past 3 months, and it is by far his worst performing map right now. His rating is 0.98. So what happened to the best player in the world on Mirage in NiKo? He didn't really change his role. He's still playing around connector, but it seems like he's lost his confidence. He's lost his groove, and maybe people have figured him out. And that's a big talking point for me, because I believe that is the reason why G2 have lost 4 in a row. NiKo is not performing on Mirage, and he's supposed to be the best player on this exact map.
I would point to one thing about NiKo's style, which seems a little bit dated in terms of the meta of connector. connector players, where I think that, well, I talked to Adren from Liquid about this before, where basically what a lot of the older connector players that thrive maybe pre-2019 did is they like to hang around connector for a really long time. They find themselves in jungle, and if they just stay there, it's very tough to actually juggle that position. But a lot of the newer connector players want to do something proactive at A, and I think Nico doesn't always call for those plays as much as he could with Jax.
So with that being said, gentlemen, very quickly, who do you see taking this one? Who do you see going straight through to Legends?
I've got G2. I think the matchup really favors them.
I'm going to stick with G2, but to me it's a coin flip. I think it's going to be a super, super close one.
Well, I'm very excited to dive into this one. To do that, we have to throw it on over to Vince and Blair to see who's going to be making it straight through to the Legends stage post-Mirage.
A Legends stage position is up for grabs, and this map is going to determine whether G2 or their adversaries of ENCE can get it done. Mirage, maybe a playground where you'd maybe have a certain level of expectation on G2 after some pretty lackluster performances. But I would also say, overall, although it's been a close game back and forth and we're at 1-1, G2 have had the better of the overall kind of standing when it came to Dust 2, taking into account some of their massive players like m0NESY having huge performances. But one consistent factor has remained for ENCE. Spinx has been an absolute beast.
Absolutely. Spinx has been phenomenal thus far, especially on Ancient. Although it was a bit of a back and forth affair there, ending in OT. Spinx definitely the shining light for ENCE as G2 starting the T side over here. They're not going to be making any ruse of the fact that it's going to be a hit coming in towards B. A nice crossfire being set up between Hades and his teammate in the form of Spinx. But Hades finds nothing in Spinx now. His position has been compromised. You know exactly where he is as Diha, his teammates come in to help him out, but they all fall like 10 pins. As Snappy, the IGL left in a 1v5, and there's nothing he can do. G2, a quick blitzkrieg of around to the B bomb site, and ENCE, they had members there, they had players there, but they were not able to find almost a single kill.
No real kills forthcoming, and G2, as you said, just blitzed over the site. They got the kills, they get the round, and now ENCE backs against the wall have got to come in and dip in for a force buy. 2 MP9s, Scout, couple Desert Eagles thrown in the mix, and G2 off to the races with 2 of their own MAC-10s, already getting aggressive up through middle, but Hades could be there to greet them in the underpass area. If they're not careful about this one, Hades can spray him down so quickly. Flash will proceed to peek, though. The Flash actually hit the D, more so than Hades, but he still comes out second best.
Oh, just getting saved there by Jax with his teammate as m0NESY finds Madden as well. That could have gone really alright for the side of G2. The nade, though, from Diha. Great follow-up. They knew m0NESY got dinked down. Now Snappy and Jax. Of a tense standoff here, but Jack's patience will pay off. He knows Snappy's position means that there's no one probably nearby towards that B bomb site. Diha shot with the scout. As you see Jax just jumping around, jumping Jack on the B bomb site, clearing out all the close angles, and that's going to allow the avenue for G2 to make the way in towards the B bomb site. Still paranoid of the potential of a flank coming in. They know Diha was towards mid, but they still have no eyes on Spinx on a deagle of his. But with Jax pushed in this deep, hold up, Diha decapitates Jackson. All of a sudden, bomb's not planted, mind you, Vince.
Diha has a couple more seconds until that smoke clears. And then maybe called into action. His teammate dies ahead of him, though. And it's Nico, that man that they discussed on the desk, needed to have a big performance, is one of the best Mirage players when he is feeling it. And if there's more in store from where that came from, things could get difficult for ENCE very quickly here. Off to a 2-0 start. ENCE will be into an eco, of course. And G2, this effectively is a bonus round. And they have the MP9 in the hands of Hunter, who can go out there and try and spray down and cash in a couple of checks in the process.
The upgraded pistol for ENCE as G2. I think a great point Maui raised earlier in the desk was how you said, like, you look at, I think it's Pimp who mentioned it, if you look at the individuals on the side of G2, you're talking about Nico, Hunter, and m0NESY, of course, and like, you look at his team on a map like Mirage, which, you know, gives itself to a lot of duels potential on some of these some of the parts of the map, and the fact that they aren't as solid as they should be on this map is such a big surprise, right? But then on the flip side, you have ENCE who, okay, Madden, that was pristine. Alexi B will, however, trade. They still know where Madden is, and Madden, for the time being, has been abandoned by his teammates. Flames are going to force him back, and Jax, he lies in wait. He knows the players are on the pass, and Madden, he continues to tear them apart. 2 clean shots with a deagle. And all of a sudden, a round that G2 should win. It's looking a little dicey right now.
Well, Snappy tagged down at 6 HP, but still alive. That grenade will finish him off. But could be baiting them into a false sense of security because Madden is there and is now creeping his way up. There's one. They were thinking about boosting, but have second-guessed themselves. Now go back in. And it's disjointed, but they get away with it. Nico's brute force allows them safe passage towards the site, especially as Hades has lost his head. It was a tentative round, Blair. As you said, it should have been a formality. It should have been a foregone conclusion. Maybe falling into place now, but Spinks, the man of the hour, the consistent heavy hitter on ENCE, is alive and on the prowl. Looking for some weapons to pick up. It's only an MP9. I think he has every reason to maybe give this a shot. If he can connect to 1dig, then this round is doable. Not sure as to where these last two players reside, and now having picked up a Galil, makes more sense to just hold on to this one, upgrade with the rest of your teammates, and come back stronger into the next round. Still hefty damage inflicted. Should be mentioned, one of these weapons was an SMG, so they didn't lose full rifles, but they did lose two, and that's pretty considerable considering the situation that they were in.
Absolutely. If you look at the money right now, right, you have Jackson $150. Hunter, of course, will have enough money to buy for himself. LXCB will be able to drop towards Jack. And actually, never mind, Spinks takes on Nico as well. So yeah, hefty economic damage being dealt out here, meaning that one of these guns will be dropped in the direction of Jax. There we go. LXCB will drop the AK-47, and AWP should be purchased here by Alexi for Monacy. As we have G2. The first real test here against the buy of ENCE. AWP in the hands of Hades. And 4A1 for each and every one of them. And we can see the early smokes being deployed. G2, great start thus far, despite losing a number of players. And we see a lot of utility being deployed towards mid. And it's, of course, going to be Hunter and Jax trying to force ENCE to maybe try and contest mid. But it is just a ruse. It's a walk up towards B bomb site. But only one player lies in wait. And it is going to come down to Snappy to shut this one down.
Snappy in the smoke, using it as a sanctuary. Hoping it's his ally. Good for one, but no more. Nico has put an end to this B site. And it looks like Spinks is going to try his damnedest to get re-control over this area. Instead, though, he walks into a barrage from Jax, and Hades will be off to save G2 with a quick-fire 4-0 lead.
It's incredible how Hunter is just being sent towards mid to try and sell the fake, try and keep the focus of ENCE on him, and it just gets away with 2 kills. Barely takes any damage. And in the meantime, Snappy, unfortunately, caught a little bit out of position as well. A great round from G2 there. ENCE falling for the ruse, thinking was going to be battle for mid instead. G2, they immediately pounce onto the B bomb side with Snappy, the IGL, buys Lonesome. G2 make it 4-0, and look, I think there are a lot of valid criticisms of G2 on the T side, especially in Mirage. Like, I go back to the RMR, and I remember when they played against Anonymous, their opening matchup, it was on this very map. It was on this very map that they got taken down in OT by massive underdogs there in the form of Anonymous, and it was on the T side where they really struggled. But right now, I know it's still very early days, Vince. I know a couple of those rounds have been against the Pistols for ENCE, but it looked pretty solid. At least for ENCE, they're going to be able to eke out yet another buy, try and play around the AWP in the hands of Hades. There's one small bit of presence towards mid. This time it's going to be Monacy. They've opted not to go for the AWP, the AK-47 in his hands. We, of course, have Nico as well, slowly holding towards Palace, making sure that ENCE don't get up to any shenanigans. Remaining members, though, just taking this passively. We have a player towards underpass, Hunter. And Jax making sure that Snappy doesn't push in too deep. Snappy has deployed a smoke inside of apartments, so you could try and use that to push it a little bit deeper into apps, get a little bit of map control, so we can allocate more resources towards mid or towards the A bomb site. Instead, he just opts to spot from the van position. So G2, after a few pretty fast and furious rounds, they slow things down.
I love that. Seeing if ENCE maybe get desperate, try and snatch something out across the map, try and push something aggressively, and in doing so, effectively spring their trap. Diha, there's the aggression I was talking about, and Alexi is up to the task. They're making this so uncomfortable, but the timing from Spinks' push could not have been sweeter, and he collects with 2. Hades holds the line with the AWP. The bait and switch out as well. They have the MP9 up close in the hands of Snappy. And now he's going to show his hand. Much better from ENCE. Closing this round down. And Nico can do little but hope to pick off some stragglers. Does have control over the bomb, but nowhere near enough time to do anything with it. And could come head-to-head with Madden. If he can take Madden's head off, there could be a golden ticket towards the A side of the map. I think he just about has enough time. It's whether he can get across there in safety or not, as there is an AWP peering him down in the form of Hades, and there he is. Collects. I thought the Molotov may play hell with Hades' position. It was a nice effort, but ENCE have themselves around.
If he gets a bomb down, I start to believe. Because it is Nico, but
Exactly.
yeah, they bit of a lifeline here. Spinks, G2 not expecting his position. A little bit more heavier defense towards that B site, shutting it down. And yeah, sure, G2, they took things a little slow, wait for ENCE to make any mistakes, but ENCE, they just held on through. Now Hades now. Towards mid, assisted by a couple of flashes from his teammates. Standing in the flames, though, because that is going to be whittled down to 26 points of health. That's a lot of damage being taken by Hades. And Spinks hoping to catch someone off guard, but Hunter will find him. And once more, it's going to be the B hit, but this time there are 3 defenders lying in wait.
Oh, they're pulling the plug. They've expended a lot of utility from the CTs. There's still tons of time left, and they have Hunter in middle. They know they're not getting flanked from that side at least. Whether they've been pushed from Ramp or Palace is yet to be determined from the side of G2. But they're backing away. They're keeping their options open. They know they have to pick on Spinks, and thus the CTs have to spread themselves out that little bit more thin.
And this really, this is a point Maui made on the desk initially as well. Alexibi's one of his problems on the T side is the fact that he doesn't use the entire clock. He doesn't give enough time for his teammates to do work. Because if he's talking about late game, late round, the best people you have on the team are players like Nico and Hunter who have that clutch potential. So I lighted some G2 to slow things down though. And even though it's a 4v4, look at the amount of damage being dealt on Diha. He has no clue. Maybe an inkling where Alexibi is, but look at the health on Madden and Hades. They are just walking around hemorrhaging.
Limping on the side. A trail of blood behind them. And the hounds are out on the side of G2. They are hungry. Starved in the last round of victory. Looking to pounce now. Nico posted up just outside Palace, 20 seconds. Was trying his damnedest to clutch out in the previous round, but may not be required. m0NESY goes in for the first pick in his engagement. They're going for the plant. They'll successfully get it down. Now the spray from D-Hack can only muster the strength for one. And although Hades is low, he's keeping them busy. Manages to just dance around the flames and keep himself alive, but Alexi is here to chunk down with the MAC-10. There's an AWP available, which he will happily pick up. And Snappy in no position to stop this round from falling in the way of G2.
Lovely work there from G2. There was no need to force the pace, right? They get a kill towards mid. It looked like they were just going to be going for the fast B hit. And if they'd gone for that, Vince, there were 3 CDs lying in wait. We saw that Hades with the AWP as well. They could have been completely just shut down, but they slow things down. They slow things down to make their way to the A bombs, and m0NESY plants the bomb. And even though the moment he gets taken down, Nico just swinging out wide from the palace, ensuring the trade takes place. And once the Molotov is deployed, Hades realizing there's no way he can even get on top of the ticket through. This is the first opening kill. Hunter finding that kill, and they just slow things down. But man, m0NESY, just the awareness of knowing where a player could potentially be towards the A ramp. And now he's going to be gifted an AWP picked up by Alexibi for his efforts, and there you have it. 5-1 for G2. What a start for them. For ENCE, though, at least have that saved off to work with, saved rifles to work with. They still have a decent buy. As Spinks looking to duel with m0NESY down towards mid, but G2, this time around, their affections lies with the A bomb site.
Smoke's now being deployed onto the site. ENCE cordoning off connector for now. Do they pull the trigger, though? G2 on this engagement. FAMAS in the hands of Madden. Snappy still very cognizant of the fact that this could be a wraparound from Underpass, but that will not be the case, as we are afforded the luxury of knowing that intel. Nico trying to tap the head of Snappy. Takes a bit of damage, but still alive. And Hades on the jump spots at least one on Tetris. Can now flip up. 1-for-1 trade though, especially as it's the AWP that's gone down, will favor G2, and it just got that little bit sweeter as they picked up a second, but Snappy keeps this site just about under control. Nico, though, pulls out the sledgehammer and knocks down the wall. And Almonacy, missing out on his chance, is at least able to relay that information to his teammates. The connector has been pushed into from one of the remaining 2 CTs. Diha looking to try and get himself back into this round. Big kill onto Nico. Alexi now stuck on Tetris, needs some support, needs it yesterday. Flash hits both of them though. 25 seconds. That engagement ends in a stalemate, but Diha comes back up. Now spins the ball down. Monacy with a beautiful flick. And with 15 seconds, needs to find the next shot. Madden shows his hand, but not for long enough for Monacy to strike twice. Switching to the AK gives him that run and gun potential. Tickles the ball. Madden out to the open, and the young gun strikes again. Conjures carnage.
That first shot from Monacy, what was that flick? Oh my lord, he definitely made up for it. He had a bit of a whiff towards mid. First he gets the opening on his Spinks towards mid, and then, of course, that op shot, that flick was just absolute filth. He spots a pixel. It's so fast, Vince. The slow-mo can't even catch it. Switches over to the AK-47. And that's a tale of redemption in just one round. That missed flick rather towards mid on the player on top of the on top of Cat. That could have been the round there for ENCE, but he definitely recovers in the end. The 1v2, and Monacy, he continues to deliver. 6-1 for G2. ENCE, they had that round, but what do you do? What do you do when this kid's hitting shots like that?
I think sometimes you just got to tip your hat to him and say fair play. But ENCE did make some errors on their engagements there in those fights. They weren't quite on the same page. Take nothing away from Monacy, that was beautiful. But let's be honest, this ENCE CT side has left a lot to be desired so far.
Oh, absolutely. And G2, though, this is just a great T-side. We can see the aggression now from ENCE. They're looking to take this fight, but the flashes are so good. Alexi B just pushing into it short. Minute and 40 seconds, already inside a ladder room. I'm not sure if the CT's heard this. And I don't think they have any idea. Perhaps they do. D-Hub aware, cognizant of the fact that someone could have just been boosted up inside of the smoke. But this is just a fast pace being set here by G2. They have an agent amongst the defense, and they are unaware. They have no clue, Vince.
So much time left as well. The ENCE make the right reads. This is where they'll be relying on Snappy's giant CS brain to try and come up with the winning formula. They've been backs against the wall ever since they won Ancient. It's been one-way traffic with G2 and Monacy in the driver's seat, as it was on Dust 2.
And G2, they're congregating back together and looking at the position. They were just waiting for ENCE to try and regain some map control. That's what ENCE like to do, though. When they have no information, they will be pushing the extremities of the map, looking to find something. Alexi B, he could find a free kill here. The Snappy will be spotted. Nico, in the meantime, finding Diha. The jig is finally up. They know exactly where Alexi B is, but as they head in towards the B bomb site, and who's lying in wait? It is Spinks, but he's been punched in the face by the AK-47 bullets, and that should be the call for the save here, Vince. Unless Snappy can find something ludicrous through the smoke, this round's done. It's a 5v3, and even though Alexi B and Nico have been damaged quite substantially, bomb planted 5v3 in a B bomb site, you go for the save. You hold on to your guns.
It's also unconfirmed damage as well. The bolt that came through smokes. Madden will hold on to his life. Not just that, though. There is the opportunity of the rifle. It's on the other side. There we go. He's found it now. So the MP9 turns into an AK-47. Significant upgrade. The thing is here, though, Blair, we're getting excited about them saving weapons. It doesn't change the fact it's going to be 7-1 on their CT side against them. Saving weapons at this stage is no longer good enough. You've got to start doing something with these guns.
They got to start doing what G2 did on the first half of Ancient, right? It was, I do believe, 6-1 or 7-1 for ENCE on their T side until G2 with a resurgence making things competitive. But yeah, so far ENCE have been just picked apart by G2. This defense has been dissected, and you can see the variety coming out from G2 as well. The previous round, that was fantastic. Alexi B just kind of reminded me of old during the glory days of Luminosity, when they're winning majors, how fast he used to be up towards Cat. And everything clicking like this for G2. A bit of a failed jump there, but it's all good for D-Hub. He's still going to stick around, flashbang, keep him at bay for the time being. But For how long he's going to stick around is the question. G2, they've been kind of coy when it comes to backing up towards mid. They deploy a lot of utility, a lot of flashbangs, and they probably usually like keep Monacy or maybe Hunter towards the top of mid, but they haven't really been contesting mid a lot. They haven't given ENCE the opportunity to do that with them, as Monacy just a whisker away from finding Diha's head. And now they know where that AWP is pushed towards. Look at how ENCE have 4 members looking to duke it out towards mid. We have 1 towards Con, actually almost 2 players towards Con. We have 1 inside of jungle, and of course a player that is Spinks and short, and Monacy with a rare miss shot, and he will be found.
Diha has the one-way look in his favor. Hunter, off spray, not able to capitalize on Hades, who was lurking around the window. And now Alexi B making moves down middle. Now there's 40 seconds to play with. G2 have been very slow in this round, and to be fair to ENCE, they've done a good job of stalling this one off with utility and position. Molly tossed in, 1 additionally from the CT side. Time is of essence. They have got to move through here, punch through, and try and brute force their way out of Connector. They don't have control over Catwalk either. They've thrown a Molotov down, but that's not going to affect Spinks. It's a massacre. They walk into the killing fields, and they have been put down with vengeance, with venom from ENCE. Maybe a bit of frustration showing there with how quickly they capitalized. And it's good to see that even though they're 2-7 behind, Spinks, he can still have a laugh about things. He's still calm.
It's still very early days, Vince. It's still very early days. You cannot count ENCE out. Like, Mirage is a map where, you know, apart from the Nuke or Ancient, it's a map that they used to go for as their first pick at times. They're supremely comfortable on it, especially the T-sides from ENCE. I genuinely used to enjoy watching it. So if I'm ENCE, you know, just bring it back, have a few rounds here on the CD side, leave enough of a buffer, and then, of course, try and mount this comeback, or rather try to close it out in the second half. So still a lot of rounds remaining to be played. And that was basically G2 just, you know, kind of getting channeled through, like you point out, the connector area, and that there was no way they're winning that. There was like a trifecta of doom just around them, got completely shut down. I'd like to see them go back to what they were doing earlier on, right? Like just mixing things up, a little bit of early mid control, but then pivoting back quickly either towards B or A. And I think they've been finding a lot of success there, primarily towards B. As Diha, it's a great flashbang. He's going to be forced on back down, but Alexi B leading the charge. I don't think he's been seen. Maybe he has, I'm not sure. Yeah, he has, and an 8 is gonna just be lobbed straight into his groin. Down to 26 HP, but he will continue to push on ahead, finding his way into Connector. This is a much more faster play coming out from G2 as they go for this A pincer.
2-pronged attack. Looking to dissect and evict, annul the marriage of ENCE on this A side. But Alexi B is already worse for wear. He'll be limping towards the side. Smokes still are in position. Will start to dwindle and deplete. Monacy, other side of the smoke. Oh, still takes the head of Madden and makes it his own. Carves the path through onto the site with Nico. Diha, some heroics. Makes Nico fade to black and now gives his team the advantage. 9 HP left for Monacy. With 50 seconds, he's now last man standing.
On the ace.
He's pulled off a 1v2. Can he go one better? He's going to get flanked though. If he's not careful, Snappy is making moves round the back. Still has to contend with Spinks. And although he's on 9 HP, having the AWP gives him more room for error. But that every second he spends waiting for a peek from CT is another second that Snappy is closing in on him. The chances now are very slim. He can pick this up, and Snappy capitalizes, makes the most of the situation. ENCE aren't done just yet.
This is all Diha, Vince. This was all Diha. The moment Monacy gets a kill into Madden, simultaneously he finds a second kill. Nico gets sniped down, and it's all in Monacy. And yeah, once again, valiant attempt from him. But once Snappy came in with that flank, and considering how low Monacy was, that was pretty much a rounder. And even Snappy, he didn't push towards ramp early on. He waited in case Monacy just legs it back towards the B bomb site. And once he knew there was not enough time for Monacy to make his way back towards B, he slowly inched ahead. Spinks being the contingency for his side. And finally, ENCE have managed to break the bank of G2. We're down to just the pistols. Monacy with a Zeus. T side. Garage. I'll be more impressed than any of his off flicks if he's able to get a kill with that Zeus here. I'd be supremely impressed.
$300 well spent, as Alexi and Nico will be feeling worse for wear. As they push in, Jax had chances, makes the most of it. Deagle in play, but Diha, Mr. Dependable, Mr. Consistent. Oh, Mr. Headshot. Ow! m0NESY gets wrecked. And although it's against an Nico, you can't argue with that aim. The rest of the pieces should now fall into place. Nice jump across, man. Diha's putting on a clinic. Give that man all the frags. Give him the ace. He's earned it.
Even if it's an eco ace, that was just such impressive mechanical ability from Diha. We started just mentioning as well, like, Diha, many of them consider to be the most mechanically gifted player in this ENCE lineup, where you have players like Spinks, like Hades, and even Madden, which is insane. But he's showing why he can do it.
With plays like that, can you argue with it?
Considering the previous round where he gets at 4K, netting them that round,
yeah.
I guess, you know what? Give him the ace. He deserves it. He's been a beast thus far. 16-9 in 11 rounds. This is despite the fact they're trailing 4-7, mind you.
Yeah, coming into this map, Spinks was by far and away the best performing player with 48 kills in the previous 2 maps. But now Diha is showing us what he can do. Spinks, to the man, has the secondary up, puts it to use. Nico, the throne from the Palace Room, and m0NESY will at least get 1. But that doesn't feel like it's going to be good enough. Alexi joins him in middle. Plenty of time left here, Blair, but although 2 players are low, when you're still up against 2 AWPs and crossfires, and you have a distinct lack of smokes across these 2 players, it's looking pretty grim, especially as Alexi B's now been picked off from Spinks. He will go down to the hands of m0NESY, but that won't be good enough to yield the round.
We asked and they answered. We were questioning ENCE when they're going to wake up, when they're going to start to show what they can do here on their on the CD side here. But finally, not just a streak of rounds, not only did it break the economy of G2, they're able to survive those pistols as well, but every time G2 is getting the rifles in hand, they're shutting them down, they're slapping them down. Diha especially starting to become more and more like an eldritch god of old, as m0NESY will be found by Madden. Just the pistols this time around, as G2 they're grouping up to try the luck on his B bombs. That's something which they have kind of forgotten, feels like. They're finding a lot of success on the B bomb side early on. Now they're going to be going back to the tried and tested. Nade lies in wait. The moment Spinks spots someone, he takes a shot, the nade's going to follow up. Snappy's slowly falling away now.
That tactical nuke may be late, maybe not required. Maybe Spinks was the nuke all along. There's the grenade. Minimal damage, as G2 are anticipating that. But it also is two-pronged. Not only does it allow them to do a lot of damage if they push, but if they stay and they stall and they stagnate, it allows more players to get up close. Clean. And it's just shooting fish in a barrel at that stage. ENCE have gone from being completely wrecked this half to now being on fire. 5 rounds in a row and only 1 behind G2.
It's just almost a replica of what G2 did in that first half of Ancient, right? It was looking like G2 were just going to get smothered, and they were able to somehow come alive. And the same here from ENCE, led by Diha, just starting to just take no name, just taking bodies. And now G2 going to go for the fast play to what's been caught out in the open as Hades, blinded for days. Jax will find him. A follow-up nade. Now, they are not aware of the fact that Diha is still inside of Underpass, but they need to be cognizant of that. The problem right now for the side of G2 is there's no one in the apartments, no one sneaking in from behind. And Diha, he can easily find a couple here.
There's one. Grenade out, may very well fall, should fall. Did a lot more damage than anticipated. But Madden, showing his patience, showing his resolve, not to peek out aggressively, is going to fall on his sword. And that may not be a good enough trade for ENCE. They still find themselves a player behind. G2 taking no prisoners in this round, and now Snappy and Spinks, on separate areas of the map, have to somehow conjoin together. Flick from m0NESY goes awry, missing the mark. And now Snappy could feasibly get this done. Alexi has control over the bomb.
How does he cross?
And he can't move right now. This is so awkward for G2, and they could get flanked in. They're getting pincered. Snappy is here, and Nico gets bested by Snappy. Nico is even watching the angle, and the veteran still took his head. The executioner.
of ENCE have prevailed once again. He may go down to Alexi, IGL and IGL Crime, but now Alexi can make a beeline for the B site. And that will be his final destination. Spinks with the AWP. Can't stop the plant, bare minimum. Alexi planting safe. Spinks daren't push through that window just yet. And with a flash up and over, hasn't quite affected Spinks, still moving in. Is it confirmed damage? Does he whip out the sidearm here? Grenade won't be finishing off Alexi, designated towards the van. And now that time on the bomb, ticking away, and Alexi clutches. G2 take it down.
Snappy, he did almost everything to perfection. Then he jumps up, and it gives Alexi's entire body, leaves his entire body exposed for Alexi to get the kill. And then immediate, quick thinking from Alexi B. He'll legs towards the B bomb site, patiently played there by the Finn. Oh, that could have gone anyway. He just jumps up on top, and that's gonna be crushing for Snappy because he destroyed Nico there earlier, even though when Nico was waiting for him. A very back and forth affair coming out as m0NESY takes just a bit of a warning shot there. But D-Hub is pushed up very, very deep. 19 and 10 for the pole, the Terminator in the server right now. It's going to be B-Hit coming in, and once more Snappy. He'll have to answer the call of duty.
Oh, the nuke has landed this time, all right. And Spinks is there to clean up the rest. 2 kills go his way. Keep in mind, at one point, this was 1-7, stacked against ENCE, and they finish in fine form. 7-8 the score. Right back in this.
5 in a row there for ENCE, and it was looking grim. It was looking grim. 7-1 the scoreline initially for G2, starting on the attacking side. But yeah, great resurgence. Ably, I mean, it all started off with the catalyst that is Diha, right? Just popping off and then kind of enabling everyone else in his team to really step up as well, step up to the plate. Spinks starting to wake up as well. Hades, though, still very quiet, Vince. That's a big question mark for me throughout this entire series. You look at Snappy, he's had his moments. Madden has had his moments. Spinks has been incredible. D has 21 and 10. And Hades, I think it's like 23 kills or something in 3 maps. It's looking grim.
He's had slow starts in each of those maps as well. He started to pick up the pace a little bit when the roles reversed on Ancient. He only had 7 kills on Dust 2. As a primary AWPer, that is grim. And now the grenades are coming into B-Apps. Damage inflicted. Hunt finishes off, but there is Diha. 22nd kill to his name. Nico holds the line on the bench, trying to tap those heads, and tap he will. 3 kills back to back. He's given G2 every chance to win this round. And Snappy instantly gooshes m0NESY. He can't afford to peek again. Flash does nothing at all. And Snappy has time to burn. That countdown to extinction will not be coming anytime soon for Snappy, unless bullets land to heads. He's gooshed both players. Collectively, 18 HP between G2 and Snappy. Is he really about to pull off another hero play in this best-of-3 series? A chance at Legends beckons for the IGL. 31 years of age and is fragging his mind out at this point, but he's made a lot of noise. There's the first frag in this exchange, and he has time. It's not just about the kills, it's keeping a cool head in the process. He knows B site is where the last CT resides, so he's headed to A for greener pastures. The bomb gets planted, and now everything turns in Snappy's favor. m0NESY has got to land an outrageous flick headshot if he wants to clutch this round now. He's got a smoke. He does have a kit. He can just go ahead, cross his fingers, cross his toes, hope for the best, full on defuse, and there's Snappy. Another clutch for the day.
Cold as ice is Snappy. Nico did everything inhumanly possible to make that, just almost unwinnable for Snappy. Look at these shots. What the hell are these shots from Nico? Just completely dismantling Diha, Hades, and Spinks, and then Snappy, as you pointed out, the veteran, the one you don't look to when it comes to just pure firepower for his team. He delivers a huge 1v2, calm, composed. He knew he had one thing going for him, Vince, and that was time, and he used it to perfection.
Cheeky boost won't work in itself, but Hunter relocates and gets the better of 2 players. That's the thing with G2. Hunter may have had a bit of a slow game, but he always has this up his sleeve.
At a moment's notice, he can just lay that down on the table. And now G2, hot off the back of a very disappointing loss, they're in with a shot at winning this round. And keep in mind, they have one rifle and only pistols.
That's a Hero A1 they bought. The Hero M4A1 they were able to purchase. And that was Nico who bought it for Hunter. Giving it to his cousin and trusting him with the weapon, and boy, he has delivered. It's not just that, like, they get 2 kills and no one's died yet. And those, don't forget the Deagles. Don't forget the Deagles in the hand of G2, as Nico, flirting with danger, takes a couple of shots, he's looking for more.
And the rest of his teammates haven't really budged on the A side. They've drawn away some fire. m0NESY now from the side. Nico misses his chance. Will that prove to be costly? m0NESY, what? Through Tetris. Has undone Spinks, and Diha may be able to get this plant down, but it's a 1-on-3, and they were waiting. Sharks circling their prey, and finally they dive in.
I need to see the shot. Oh, come on. Give him the fist bump. Give him the fist bump. There we go. I want to see the shot from m0NESY again. That was the edge of the boxes, if I'm not mistaken, and my word, what a round. Firstly, Hunter. 2 great kills. Madden out in the open. It was pretty much untradeable, and then m0NESY. Oh, look at that. Okay. All right. All right, m0NESY.
He's not just an AWPer, he's a gamer.
He's a gamer. He's a real gamer. And right now, G2 are gaming. ENCE, off the back of an incredibly well-played clutch from Snappy and G2, they immediately snatch it back. AK, Galil, retrieve from the previous round from the corpses of ENCE, and they of course have the A1 upgrades as well. Force is going to be coming in for ENCE, however. Pistols abound, smokes will be deployed, and look at where Nico is.
Enough smokes to blot out the sun, but Nico comes through there. He tries to smoke onto that Molotov, and Jack's missing out on his chance. Nico should have done enough. Madden had other ideas. Tech9 runs straight into the site and pillages 2 heads. And now the Vikings of ENCE are looking to put their flag down, and Diha, spilling blood left and right with the MAC-10, has finally gone to Valhalla. Grenade is good for damage, but not good for the frag, and Madden can survive on 38. Slight gap in the smoke, and Alexi is to be pushing through there, missing out on the chance. Nico got the first 2 picks there, Blair, and they still lost the round. Please explain that to me.
Diha just standing on top of stairs with that MAC-10, and you can see G2 looking a little shell-shocked. The Force by Wars. He's forced by Wars, and Madden though, this second shot is just nasty on the Jax. He needed to get one. This is the play though from Diha. Just moving around with the MAC-10, because of the mobility afforded to it by the SMG, just able to find 2. And in the end, despite the heroics, the final player, the 1v2, a little bit too much. And ENCE, they bring it back. They wrest it back for G2, but once again, the Hero M4A1. But this time, it's in the hands of the Frenchman. Jax is going to be wielding it, but they've opted to go for a bit of a stack towards B. Just one lone defender towards A, that's going to be Nico, and now slowly creeping back towards Connected to try and help his teammate out. That is Jax with the A1. They're all grouping up here at mid, and that is a timing that somehow ENCE have been able to find. A bomb site is empty, and even though Jax will find Snappy, this bomb site is theirs for the taking, and ENCE will get the bomb down, but Madden falls, and suddenly, even though they have the weaponry advantage, it's a 4v3 for G2.
The only silver lining is that Snappy's weapon was the MAC-10, so they don't just get a free rifle out of that. A rifle did drop jungle, but they have to subside through smoke to get there first. That's the only thing that might be going in their way, but they are hemorrhaging kills. Hunter and Jax both just jump in, frag out, and Diha, the man on 26 kills, 10 more than anyone else on the server, has a huge task ahead of him. The bomb's not even planted directly for him, and m0NESY will punish with the AK. Out of nowhere, G2 have slapped ENCE across the face.
They've done it again. Again, literally span of 3 rounds. Whew, they got a little close. They got a little closer. It's okay. It's all right. The M4, man. These hero M4s, earlier was Hunter, finds 2 kills, getting boosted up towards underpass, and now Jax finding a couple. Madden jumping across before the smoke blooms, and once his head gets plucked off, G2 just group up together. They don't really waste much time, not giving enough space and time for ENCE to get themselves into more comfortable post-plant positions. And in the end, it's incredible, but I mean, the guy's human at the end of the day, right? You're expecting him to get 4 kills in a 1v4. with the bomb not even getting planted for him. And G2, the force buy wars now. The question here is for ENCE. Did it go for it again? Did it go for yet another force buy? Or did it let this one slide and save so they at least will have a full-fledged arsenal at their disposal come the next round? That's a question right now as... man, Jax, dude. 3 huge kills with the A1.
That second shot on Connector was just pixel perfect. He had to hit the head, and he did mid-air. Unbelievable. The answer has been given, Blair. You better believe they're force buying again. We go again. 3 rifles, 2 pistols alongside it. Does afford them a little bit more in terms of utility on the belt. They got smokes to burn, they got mollies, they got flashes. They also have ramp control. There's a smoke down there at the moment, but 4 players congregating outside of the ramp, leaving Spinks alone in Palace, and now here comes the full-on execute. NiKo dealing with the main threat as Spinks from Palace goes in for more before the smokes have a chance to fully plume. 2-for-2 trade. NiKo is exceptionally low, however, and now Diha is taking significant damage as well. Flashes out from the CT. May allow them safe passage onto the bomb, but now Hades up on the boxes, nullifies Hunter, passes a bullet through his head, tries to scamper off into ramp, is successful, but Snappy's been caught at range. Alexi's spray lets him down, but he's able to transfer to the second player of Hades, and Snappy's position is compromised. They knew he was in that corner. The HP bar on all 3 players is below 25. Diha on 6 has to just put 2 bullets down range on a post plant, and this round will still go the way of ENCE, even though it's been looking scrappy, even though it's been looking difficult, but NiKo's timing could not be better, and G2 steal away yet another round.
1 second later there from NiKo, and Diha clutches it. He takes down Alexi B. Oh my word, everyone stepping up individually for G2. The rounds are winning here. It was Hunter with a 3K, it was Jax with a 3K, now it's NiKo. Not just with a 3K, but also just a round-winning kill at the very end. And the force buy wars, it's still gonna continue. ENCE are not stopping this. They're still going for it. They know they have G2's economy on the brink. They want to break it. They're so very close. And once more, we go again. It's gonna be the A bomb site. Jax playing up close and personal. Smoke's going to be deployed. He sees Spinks going to be dropping that immediately. Smoking up the Molotov as well as m0NESY plucks Snappy from the air.
Beautiful shot. Clay Pigeon shooting from m0NESY, but using live ammo now. And NiKo perched up on the bench, bypassing the smoke, getting the rewards. Diha's the only player that's really struck so far with that MAC-10. But NiKo on the prowl has been thwarted by Hades and pushed away. Madden, meanwhile, in window deals with the other component, and that family tree has now been uprooted. ENCE looking good to get double digits, but that man is still alive, m0NESY. He has been a pain in the side, a talisman of this game. Alexi, who pulled off such a vital clutch just a few moments ago, is still alive, still kicking into this round. m0NESY's trying to be baited out into the open by ENCE, but he's not biting just yet, and a well-placed flash forces the tease away. Now m0NESY can just get his angles trained on ramp, but Hades plucks him out with the AK-47. Alexi has to go above and beyond once again. This force by war has continued, and it could be just a few moments away from breaking G2 yet again. Alexi's got to make a move here. Time is running so dry, so low. He feels like Tetris has been called off, but now he's going to find out. Oh my god! The flick to Hades' head. Is there enough time for the fin?
He's got it!
There is! He's got it! Unbelievable!
Oh my god, what was that? What was the first shot from Alexi B? That flick on the Tetris. The round was done, Vince. He had no idea where he was. Oh my goodness me. The individuals on this G2 side. Oh, I need to pause after that. I need a tactical timeout.
Blair, they say that, you know, a picture spells 1,000 words. I think that body language tells you everything you need to know about how wrecked ENCE must feel.
Oh boy. They had it, Vince. They had it. That force buy, they had it. They almost broke it.
This is the replay of the last round, as you can see. m0NESY was huge, but it's Alexi. First pivoting from catwalk, nearly denies the bomb plant, and this shot is absurd. No. Especially as before that, if you remember, he quickly shoulder peeked Tetris and then he assumed it was clear. That was pure reaction speed.
Jesus. Well, Vince, ENCE get the bomb down. They don't have to force buy anymore. They finally have the lost bonus to eke out a solid buy. But G2 with a 3-round lead. I don't care about all these Mirage naysayers, man. This map delivers.
It is most certainly delivered this time around, that's for sure. Let's be honest, this entire series has. The first map may have been a bit of a blowout, but there were some crazy moments on that one as well. Now Hunter looking to try and connect with a couple kills, but Connector has now been bypassed. Jack's a different angle. Haven't really seen the CTs occupy ramp this aggressively so far. And Jax spins in for 2, and now Spinks can clean up the rest onto Jax. They have dealt with the A contingent though, ENCE, but it's Spinks against the world.
Monacy, crosshairs trained in the direction of Spinks, and he doesn't have anything to cross with. There we go. No smokes, no flashes, nothing. And Monacy, he doesn't miss those. And G2, they continue to put in the nails in a potential coffin here for ENCE. What a hole from Jax. Everyone is falling apart outside of him. Sure, Hades was low, sure, Snappy was low, but still incredible control from Jax with an A1. As ENCE, they're going to be going for a bit of a... I thought it was going to be half buy, but no, they're going all in again. Vince, they've just been forced buying non-stop for the past 5 rounds. Again, the pistols come out. At least it's time to have a MAC-10 and a Galil, a couple of MAC-10s and a Galil in the hands of Madden. And look at Hunter just pushing into his apartments, finds Spinks, and G2, they have come alive. And they can smell it, Vince. They can smell that legend stage.
Someone needs to get off and get Dihar a chiropractor after this performance. The man's back must be aching. He's been doing so much lifting. He needs someone to help carry the burden. If ENCE are going to have a second wind, someone else has got to step up to the plate. In terms of this round, losing Spinks so early on ravages their chances, but they have Madden with a Galil. Additionally, 2 players up middle, 2 in the B-apps. B-site, 2 defenders only. One of which is Hunter, however. Now the 2 of them are going to push in. That flash is good, but Alexi's barely affected by it. Which is all for the best, because Hunter was completely blinded. Now smokes and mollies being exchanged. Out into the open, they'll filter in, but Dihar into a hail of bullets. As he's vanquished by Hunter. And although there is a counter frag, it shouldn't be going the way of ENCE. 35 seconds, and Hades with now an A1S to his side. This will be a huge moment for him to step up, but Monacy will swat him away. ENCE will have a buy coming up, but G2 are 2 rounds away from the Legend stage.
The amount of clutches won here by G2 has been absolutely insane. And like 3 clutches won, 2 by Alexi. I'm going to remember that 1v2 over there on the A bomb side for quite a while, Vince. But even the number of rounds, it comes down to this 2v2s, 3v2s, and somehow they cling on. And it's coming down to the individuals. It's coming down to the sheer depth of firepower that this team possesses. And even Alexi B stepping up to the plate. You're looking at his team, you're like, sure, Jackson pop off. You have Nico, Hunter, Monacy, and Alexi B as the individual delivering as well. And for ENCE, it seems like they've thrown almost everything they have, including the kitchen sink at G2. And somehow G2, they did not budge. Right now, 14-9, G2 2 rounds away from locking in that position, Vince. It means so much to this team. It means so much to everyone in the server right now. And for ENCE, it's almost like they've hit a wall at the moment.
Oh, they've hit a wall, all right. And that wall is Alexi B. These last 5 or so rounds, this man has been omnipresent, immortal, clutch master, fragging when he's required. It's been way more of a team effort over on the G2 side, though. Many players pulling their weight. Mate, I don't even smoke, and I feel like I need a cigarette after this game. Meanwhile, Spinks has been caught by a HE and also a flashbang. See, this is the smoke. Those Jax is there, but Jax is too fast. And Nico mops up Snappy, who is thinking of peeking through Palace. Another engage that goes heftily in favor of G2.
Alexi, he spots Madden's foot, and before Madden's able to sneak his way into its connector, finding him. And one by one, they start to fall. Just 2 players remain. Diha, 28 kills. What more can this man do? And Hades, a rough day in office for him today, but it's still not quite done yet. He can redeem himself. He's got the AWP, his weapon of choice in his hands. Smoke and a flash to work with. The problem is, G2, apart from a few kills they got towards Ramp, towards Palace, towards Connector, they haven't shown anything, and now Elixir B goes poking and prodding. He's like, where the hell are they? Want to find something. Nico finds Diha, now all on Hades. 1v5 looking unlikely, looking impossible. Elixir B strikes him down. And with that, G2 1 round away. They are map and match point, Vince, and ENCE have been absolutely slaughtered on this second half. They have done almost everything possible, thrown everything at G2, and G2 just don't blink. The individuals, just the heroics. And that previous round, that was as convincing as it can get from G2. There's no more 2v2s, no more 1v1s. G2 just shutting things down. And right now, and showing why Mirage is a map that they should absolutely be feared on.
They should indeed. Another stat for you. Only 2 rounds in this half have gone the way of ENCE. One of which was the pistol.
And the second one was the force buy.
Yes. So they've had chances. The force buy wars, as we coined it, has been thick and fast. And every single turn, every single opportunity, G2 have been in the ascendancy. But can they finish this one off? Are they going to apply the pressure and break ENCE once and for all and secure their spot in the legend stage?
Well, here we go. Weaponry not that ideal for ENCE. Not even a solitary AK-47, just Galils for everyone apart from Hades on the Deagle. A lot of utility though to work with. And this time around, it's not going to be a fast play. And that's the thing from ENCE, right? Like almost all the runs I've seen from them on their force buys, it's just been this fast plays, just this full commitment, executes on towards A bomb site, or you're rushing in towards B. They don't really slow it down. And when they slow it down, we saw what happened the previous round, where it just got completely just picked apart one after the other, no trades taking place, and once more they're setting things up. But this feels like a ruse, Vince. Just a couple of players. You can see the bomb on the back of Madden slowly peeling towards B. They're grouping up here, and m0NESY, he lies in wait.
We haven't really seen any fakes from ENCE so far. This is one of the first times, but m0NESY nailing the first player has kind of given this one away, especially seeing 2. This feels like it may be a done deal. They still have one more player coming out, but it's Hades and now Madden, last man alive. The only thing working in the man's favor is that he has the bomb, but he has no more life. And neither do ENCE in this best of 3. G2 secure their spot in the legend stage.
Absolutely deserved. The desk painted it at the very beginning of the series that if G2 want to take this, they need to take it on Dust 2 and Mirage, and they do it convincingly. In fact, they almost got it done 2-0 on Ancient, right? But it went to OT and pushed them to map number 3. But the second half